must admit, I've got no idea what this song is. I pressed the wrong buttons.
This is niche.
I pressed the wrong button. Forget the music.
I quite like it though.
It wasn't what I thought it was.
It works though, doesn't
That's
it?
what happens when Ashley Shipman rushes you in the morning.
Come on, guys, I'm feeling nervous. 6:31. Give the people what they want. More Ashley Shipman. Oh, here we go.
No, it's not the right one.
It's not the right vibe, is it? But
Forget it.
Kind of like
it. Forget it. Didn't work.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday? Today Wednesday? Tuesday?
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
What day? Is today Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I've lost half a week. Oh, didn't it feel like a Monday?
What do you feel like?
Didn't it feel like a Monday? Happy Wednesday. How the devil are you? Scaling your business plus a special guest this morning here in the Winners Club, and it is a special guest as well. We are very excited because we've got the one, the only. I'm going to see if that thing drops. Lewis Allsop on the show. Oh, it's too early. Hang on, wait.
No, it's the wrong remix.
Lewis Allsop on the show.
No, not the right one.
You need to turn it up. You used to be a DJ, man. Come on, for God's sake.
Forget it.
Lewis Allsop. He is the CEO, the group CEO of Allsop and Allsop, which is the UAE's biggest estate agency chain. Do you call it a chain? You probably don't call it a chain anymore, do you? Is it still a chain? No, estate agency. It's not. You wouldn't call that a chain, would you? I mean, it's a brand. It's an elite luxury brand.
Largest estate agency in Dubai. This is a guy who in 2008 sat down with his brother and was like, do you know what, we're going to create the biggest estate agency in Dubai. And they've only gone and flipping done it. They've been awarded the most sales in Dubai last year by the Dubai government. They've done so well that Lewis ended up sponsoring his previous hometown football club, Coventry City, just because he loved football. And he's done amazingly well. So we're going to be digging into the journey of Lewis Allsop. He used to be on the app a lot, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like back in the day. He used to be. I remember like back in the day. Back in the early days, if you're new to Clubhouse, you might not remember these golden times. But back in the day, you could you'd end up chatting to somebody like, who's this? I remember like Spencer. Who's Spencer Lodge? I was like, oh, he's done some bits, hasn't he? Dean used to come on. Paul Abercrombie. We backed the wrong horse there, didn't we? Christ. All those legends, and we ended up with this knobhead.
You'll thank me one day.
But yeah, Lewis was one of those. You just come on and just like have a chat.
Don't say that. What you just said. You're not allowed to say stuff like that.
Can you not?
No, you cannot.
Okay, right.
Get us in trouble.
We like a bit of trouble, don't we? We like a bit of trouble on and offline. But yeah, he used to be one of those guys who would just sort of pop in, have a chat with you, and then I remember the first time I was like, "Is that his house? Is that his office? Is that his car? Is that his life?" So Lewis Allsop, super successful property and prop tech. You like that word, didn't you? Prop tech. Look at him. Oh, prop tech. Oh, property technology. Put the words together. Prop tech. Prop tech. Because he's not just an estate agent. He's done a lot of like clever stuff within the technology space in the property world. That's why we call it prop tech.
That's if we can work the guest system.
Yes.
The new guest system that's in place. Turn your phone down.
Oh, shippers. Come on, shippers. We talk about technology and Shipman can't use the headphone jack on his mobile. Christ on a bike. Anyway, so we're going to be talking to him this morning about his journey, how he's created such a massive property brand over in the UAE, and digging into how he has created the business that he's now got. But before that, we'll be talking about scaling up your businesses, and we'll even do a bit of Q&A as well. We've got our resident scale-up expert, a guy who's a legend in his field. He's not available, so we've got Paul instead. Who can chat some nonsense if needs be. All about, scaling up your business. Very exciting times. Exciting times indeed. I'm going to get my laptop and test this guest link. We've never done this before because the benefit of living in Dubai is you don't pay any tax. The downside of Dubai is that they don't want anyone knowing you're paying no tax, so you can't that easily get onto other platforms. You have to have VPNs and clever stuff like that to be able to communicate to the outside world. That's weird, isn't it? I think you two have broken that down to me. I didn't realise. You know, like people are a bit naive to what goes on in them sort of places. I'm that guy. Oh, it looks really nice over there.
Seriously though, that's going to happen here, isn't it? Not that we're going to become a tax haven. They're going to start stopping us talking to each other.
Oh God, don't go there.
Let's go to the metaverse.
Go to the metaverse. You can only say things that Mark Zuckerberg wants you to talk about.
But this misinformation round.
Oh, are we going there?
No,
Okay,
we are going to go. Let's go there. Who cares? Ban us if you want, Clubhouse. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Like 5 years ago, everyone moaned about China and said the Chinese opposed people's views, and you couldn't say anything against what the government is. We are soon becoming that here, aren't we? If you do not say anything, which is the agreed narrative of the Western world, if you say something against that and you don't quite agree with their view, or you have an alternative view, you're not allowed to say it.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting time we live in.
So there isn't any freedom of speech anymore, is there?
So the Joe Rogan, this what we talk about. We were having a quick chat before we came on air, and I say on air in the loosest possible terms, but because it makes us feel good. But Joe Rogan is a very, very popular podcast. Is it a coincidence, by the way, that everyone is now going after Joe Rogan 10 days after it came out that he's the biggest media reach on the planet?
What a move.
Is that any coincidence? He's bigger than Fox, CNBC, the BBC, ITV, the Mail Online. He's bigger than all of those platforms put together. He's got a bigger media reach than all of those platforms. It came out, literally 10 days ago. Now, all of a sudden, everyone hates Joe Rogan. And he's taking heat for shows that were on months ago. That's no coincidence.
They've gone hunting. They've gone hunting to find a problem.
The Illuminati. Anyway, basically the conversation. If you don't know, Joe Rogan's a super big podcaster. He has he gets about he gets over 100 million downloads per month. It's huge. And this is a guy who previously he's like a weed smoking, super intelligent. Thanks for the coffee. That was lovely, by the way, Ash. He's a weed smoking, super intelligent comedian turned sort of podcaster, and UFC commentator as well. He's like such a weird amalgamation of all these things together. But he's super, super intelligent, and he's also an amazing moderator of conversations. And he's in the last sort of couple of weeks ago, it came out that Joe Rogan has a bigger media reach than any other media organisation on the planet. Fast forward 2 weeks, he's taken a lot of heat because of supposedly the dangerous dissemination, I think they call it, the dangerous dissemination of misinformation around COVID. Now, you've had Neil Young, who's like, hey, I'm taking my music off Spotify. And Joni Mitchell's done it as well. By the way, they don't actually own their catalogue, so they haven't got the right to take it off. It's a virtue signalling at the worst possible extent. Turns out, Neil Young's record, the publishing rights, 50% of it is owned by the UK Investment Fund.
Okay.
So it's government-backed. I'm not saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying what I'm saying, if you get what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to be offed as I walk out there. Because if you get offed in Ilford, it'll be like, it's just another guy. Not that I was spreading the truth, man. I'm one of the woken. But yeah, so Neil Young's taken his music off Spotify, supposedly. Joni Mitchell's taken her music off Spotify. A load of artists are, because of this dangerous dissemination of misinformation. And Joe Rogan, quite rightly, in my opinion, and everyone is entitled to opinion, or we used to be, has not done anything like spreading misinformation. He has simply had guests on his podcast who go against the popular narrative of what's right and wrong. And Joe Rogan's quite right. He's done a brilliant 9-minute video and come out and said, look, thanks to Spotify, I'm sorry that these guys are taking so much heat for what supposedly was said. But realistically, all I've done is had people with an alternative view on. Two of the interviews, by the way, that have been cited as sort of spreading this misinformation. One of the guests was one of the world's leading cardiologists. And obviously there's a huge sort of risk to your heart health having, if you've suffered from COVID or long COVID. So he had that guy on. And the other person is not a professor, but he's a doctor called Robert. I can't remember the guy's surname. Anyway, I'll have to find out. But that guy has got 9 patents of technology within vaccines. So he's like...
Malone.
Robert Malone, that's the one. And it's a brilliant interview, to be fair. It's a brilliant interview. And what Joe Rogan never does is goes, don't get vaxxed or do get vaxxed. He's very much, he sort of sits on the fence in a very clever way that he will allow both sides of the conversation to happen. But like he said in this video, it's like, who's better? One of the world's leading cardiologists to have an opinion, or
a guy who's got 9 patents within vaccine technology. Like, surely these are the people that qualify. And like he said, I'm not saying I'm for anything or against anything. I'm simply wanting to have multiple people be able to have their say, because at the moment it's a very one-way narrative. And now he's like, it's ridiculous, man. He's been sort of dragged across hot coals for it. But luckily, I mean, he's got broad enough shoulder. He thinks he's fantastic. He's like, whatever. And he'll fight his corner. And he's intelligent enough to fight his corner. What's going to be interesting here, I think, is... and I did a blog about this like a year and a half ago when he got picked up by Spotify. Spotify said that they had bought the rights as the sole sort of platform to be able to stream the Joe Rogan podcast. But they said they would have no involvement in the editorial content. So Joe would be free to do what he wanted to do. Because it used to be Joe Rogan and his pals sat smoking a few spliffs in a bunker somewhere. They used to have like a little... literally like a little bunker thing that they had a couple of cameras up on, and it was like 4 hours of just random conversations. And Spotify said we will leave the editorial. That's down to Joe and his team. We just want to be the platform to have it. So now they've got to back it. Now they've got to back it and actually not get involved in the editorial if that's what they're going to do. So it's going to be very interesting times. Very interesting times indeed.
But there's a look of concern on your face.
But it's a bit scary, isn't it?
I didn't know what symbol you was giving me.
Look at the camera.
Is that what
you see the look of concern, the sheer concern?
I thought it's
in school. I had to look at the wall. Now in the studio, I just stand, look at the camera.
On another note, though,
they still make kids look at the wall. You can't do that anymore, can you? That's against like health.
I get the argument. What Ofcom with broadcasters here in the UK, they have to provide balance, don't they? So if they have one-sided, you can't have a one-sided view. So if you bring a guest on that has one view, you have to bring another guest on that has the opposing view, so that you provide balance. So that's what you should have done.
Yeah, but it's again, this is where podcasting is a little bit like the Wild West. It's got no editorial guidelines. You've got no Ofcom. You can say what you want on a podcast, but also... But
with being the largest media outlet in the world, becomes the responsibility of that. And
yeah, but he does have people on with opposing... He might not go like, pro-vaxxer, anti-vaxxer, pro-vaxxer, anti-vaxxer, like back to back. And he did come out in that video and say... maybe what I will need to do is make sure that I have people with an opposing view quicker after that episode. But he does all the guest booking and all this kind of stuff. But it's just, it's almost like you say, it's a real, I think there's a real risk here about freedom of speech. And not to get all political, but we are, you should not. We're either for freedom of speech or you're not. You can't be for it as long as it suits your narrative, and then not if it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't like it. I don't think it's right, and I want it to stop. Anyway, that's my take.
So we talk about the...
That's Bert on the soapbox for
subject.
Today.
I didn't know.
Play me a jingle. Did. Well, we're not... Thank you very much. We're nodding at Ashley now. Why are we
while you was talking there were some issues with the link to get the guest on.
I guess that something was going on.
That's why Ashley looked...
Because you looked
extremely
angry.
worried.
Ashley just went really quiet. You know when he just sort of sits there, just don't look around so he can't get in trouble.
If he doesn't sit in the middle of that camera, I will get angry and throw something at him.
He spent £40,000 in the studio and all you got to do is put your ass in the chair,
I've even given you a red light that means sit in front of the red light.
And now I feel like I'm at opticians.
What does it say behind me?
That's B.
We are live on YouTube, by the way, everybody. So you can click on the link at the top of the screen with our little link tree. You can go through to YouTube. We're live on YouTube. We're going to have Lewis Allsop joining us, hopefully, if technology allows, via YouTube. Via the YouTube screen, you can watch that, and the audio will be put back here into Clubhouse, so you'll be able to see that. So we talk about the actual subject.
Yes, let's do that. Indeed. Oh, somebody's here. Our guest is here. I could hear him breathing in the back. He's here, and he doesn't sound like he wants to be here. That was a gigantic silence. Oh, God.
He's popped up on my screen as well. I can see him. Looks rather smart. He's put us to shame, actually, when people see him. He's well dressed up for the occasion. Ashley, go and get changed.
Oh, God almighty. # Team Hanson.
I wasn't on mute then, no? I was doing my big sigh.
Oh, what have I got myself in for? I'm back on this nonsense again. Awesome stuff. Yeah, we'll be coming to Lewis very shortly. We are going to be speaking about his journey here on not here in the UAE. I didn't realise, it wasn't until I saw Ashley Shipman's post yesterday. I was like, wow, this guy. And you know when someone's like really going to be an exciting guest, because normally the way it works behind the scenes is that we get some artwork done, and then I'll normally write like a little bio, and then that gets put out. If Ashley doesn't wait for you to write the bio and he writes it himself, you know that it's like, this must be someone who's like a killer in the sales game, because Ashley only gets excited about killers in the sales game. And all of a sudden I was like, Ashley's tagged you. Ashley wants to do a collaborative post with you. Ashley's tagged you on LinkedIn. Ashley's tagged you on Facebook. I was like, what's going on here? So yes, I hadn't even done my due diligence to write the post about Lewis, and I'd already been tagged in. So yeah, very excited. It's going to be a great conversation this morning, which we're going to kick off at about 7 o'clock this morning. By the way, guys, if you could do us a favour, we'd mucho appreciate it. Click onto the bottom left-hand corner of the room. You can see there's a little double arrow thingamajiggy there, and you can actually reshare this room. You can either share it onto your socials, which would be lovely if you want to, or you can just share it into the hallway as well. So if you are new to Clubhouse, you might know about this already. And if you're new to Clubhouse, you might not know about this. And if you've been on Clubhouse for a little while, you probably do know about it. But if you click on the little left-hand button down the bottom, then you can actually share this into the hallway. And then if there's anybody who is looking around the hallways for good content, then they can come and find us, and we can get some new people into the room. The likes of Michael, I see he's got his party hat on. Down the bottom, Juliet's got her party hat on as well. Welcome to the Winners Club. Welcome to Clubhouse. Thank you for being here. Much appreciated. So yes, that is what we're going to be doing this morning. Click onto the little share button down the bottom left-hand corner of the room, and give this a share out either onto your socials or onto the hallway. And we will very shortly be kicking off with our guest, Lewis Allsop, to talk about how he has grown an award-winning estate agency in a Forbes 100 business. That's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting. Should we just kick it off as he's here now? What do you reckon? I'm looking at you two. I've filled for 19 minutes while you two are having an absolute technical flap here. Paul Abercrombie chucks the grenade in of freedom of speech and then runs off. Thanks for that, mate. Freedom of speech is not right, is it? Bye!
Actually, you were speaking as my profile, so I'll get banned.
Oh, was I? Oh, God.
Yeah, that was
the heat's on you again.
Let's see if this works. I hope Lewis can hear it. Give us a thumbs up, Lewis, on the screen if you can hear us.
I can hear you, man. So if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear him as well. That's fine. There we go. Yeah,
I've just been talking and like these guys going over me.
Oh, we're getting a bit of audio difficulties there, aren't we? Can we mute that Vimeo thing and then come through Clubhouse? This is live production, guys. You know, this is why I always say that we're like the BBC, but just not quite as good. This is why, because they would have organised this, and at least one person would have tested a link.
Yeah, we'll get Lewis to talk via Clubhouse. There we go.
Okay, so if Lewis is there, that is fantastic. Okay, cool.
But stay on the video link so we can see you. It was still pumped back through.
I'm now talking from Clubhouse.
Okay, and can you mute your laptop then? Because I think you're getting it through your laptop as well.
How about that? We're better?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go, yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Not quite the BBC, but we'll get there.
We will get there. We will get there. So
just like the BBC, just a little bit shitter. That's what our tagline's been from day one.
Is that a hashtag yet or what? Have you got that going?
Yeah, we've trademarked it. We've got to be very careful though, because we don't want the powers that be to take us off air for derogatory.
Shitter than BBC. Come listen.
Yeah. Or not if you don't want to. We're easy either way.
Seriously, I'm not knocking the BBC, but what we do.
God, what are you doing
quite
this morning?
Technical. This is quite technical because you've got 3 different audio sources trying to put to the same place. Anyway, that's why we get the echoes occasionally. Anyone that understands.
So you boys have advanced a lot then, really. But when I used to come on Clubhouse, obviously, Dubai has been banned from using Clubhouse crazily. So to get onto here, I've got to use a VPN to get on. So it's become quite difficult. But when I first started coming and speaking with you guys, it was just a room. It looks like you guys have advanced dramatically into what you're doing. So congratulations.
Thanks very much. I mean, we spent a lot of money on the technology. Frankly, that's been the only improvement, really. The quality of the content hasn't vastly advanced at all. Our relationship hasn't advanced at all. We just got a lot more toys to play with.
frankly. That's about it. So were you able to get on Clubhouse to start with, and then it got shut down? No, really?
So there's an issue in Dubai where you can't use FaceTime, you can't use WhatsApp video. You can only use one software, which is like the government owned. Like Virgin and O2 and things like that, they've got called Do and Etisalat, which are government owned, so they've got monopoly over it. So you have to download something called Botting, which is a video chat, but no one uses it in England. So if you try and FaceTime here, it just doesn't work. So I think they're just coming out of that Stone Age mentality where Dubai is so advanced in so many ways, but I can't FaceTime my mum in England is just it is wild. So getting on this was difficult for the last 6 to 8 months or so.
Wow. And is there a lot of that? Because like I say, when from the outside looking in, Dubai looks like it is an absolute leader in its field in terms of sort of entrepreneurship and what it's doing. And, they've sort of basically, they've created an economy out of nowhere. Is there still that kind of like old world Middle Eastern mentality that's juxtaposed with like being at the forefront of like leading the way for a lot of other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, look, Dubai now is like the hub for really, it's probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing city in the world in terms of business, finance, real estate. And what I've seen is I've been there for 16 years now, 35. I came there when I was 19. And when I first come there, you'd read the papers in the Daily Mail that say you can't hold hands together and you can't kiss on the street and you can't do this and you can't drink. And if you come here now, anyone that's not been to Dubai, anyone that hasn't been here will say, what is it? It's just camels and it's fake and it's this and it's that. But it's nothing but that. So they're changing laws every single year. So for instance, in 2021, a couple of laws they announced, you can now cohabit with opposite sex, which sounds crazy to the UK. But in the UAE, you were not allowed to live unless you're married with that person. And there's other laws that have come in, like in Dubai, if you bounce the check, it was a criminal case where the police would actually call you and say, hey, you bounced this check, you've got to pay this money. That law has now been changed. They've just moved to their weekends, which were Friday and Saturday, to now Saturday and Sunday to mirror up with the financial worlds around the world. So the Dubai are moving ahead and moving quicker at a rapid pace than I've ever seen this city move. And, if anyone's not been here, the bars, the restaurants, the beach clubs, if you want shopping, if you want to go and feed the ducks with your kids, if you want to go to the beach, it is not this fake place that people say it's a plastic place. It is, 96% of the economy and the people that live here are actually expatriates. 4% are local. It's built up of the world, really.
Lewis, didn't the financial, I forget what it's called, is it FDIC or the DIC?
DIFC. Yeah.
DIFC, don't they have their own law jurisdiction to resolve contracts and stuff? Didn't they bring something in there to give comfort to any financial institutions that wanted to come and work there?
Yeah, so the DIFC is English law. So effectively, they take English bylaw into consideration. So when they're talking about contracts in Dubai doesn't even have, when you go to the Dubai courts, it's very much based on how the judge feels on the day. They don't really consider bylaw. When you go to the IFC, they will consider historical laws and laws from the UK, and that they will bullet point based on historical facts like the UK. But yeah, that's set up really for a lot of financial institutions, and it's one of the biggest hubs in the world now for some of the biggest investment banks. You can name any of the biggest investment banks, and they have their bases there. Of course, it's tax-free haven as well.
How interesting! Right, so let's get into the into your journey then. We've done enough there for the Dubai Tourist Board. They can pay us our commission after if they want to, or not, as the case may be. Probably not, frankly. But how you mentioned that you ended up in Dubai as a 19-year-old lad. Is it right that you and your brother sort of had a sort of a come to Jesus conversation one day? You're like, right, what are we going to do? We are going to go and create the biggest estate agency in the world, or something like that, when you were like really, really young.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was a little shit when I was younger. There's no doubt about it. I was an estate agent from the age of 16. I wasn't allowed into school to do sixth form because I was very disruptive. They called me, I was the class clown, and I had a very bad attention span. I realised as I got older is that I'm more of a practical learner than someone that listens to the class. And I only figured out how to teach other people that later on in life. And I realised why I was so shit in school and only got a B in GCSEs in dramas because of that. But how I ended up getting to Dubai is I got sacked, again, being the little shit that I was, for not turning up to work a few times. I was the number one sales agent in the company I was working for. And I remember sitting down with my boss and he said, we're letting you go. I was like, let me go. I'm the number one agent. You can't let me go. And he said, well, we'll let you go. So that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, getting sacked there. I remember my manager speaking to me saying, Lewis, I'm really sorry that I sacked you. This is like 7 or 8 years ago. I was in Dubai. He said, but it's probably the best thing that happened. I said, no, you're right. So what happened there is I saw a program on ITV about Dubai, and I just went, cool, I'm going there. I was 19. There was no thought process, no children, no kids. I was just a lad that had a dream of my fear in life. And when I was younger, I don't want to be normal. I never wanted to be the guy that got the train at 6 a.m., got in the rat race at 5 p.m. and went through that. There's a lot of people that's normal to a lot of people, but I just don't. I didn't like that I was going to be that guy that worked 9 till 6 or did the basics. So I wanted to change my life, and I seen that Dubai was the place where you could potentially become a millionaire overnight. And it was that place. I've seen people making millions of pounds. So I jumped on a flight, £500 in my bank, and I'm becoming an estate agent in Dubai. And that was 16 years ago.
Wow. So you had no, did you have any pals there or anyone who was like, yeah, come over and I'll help you out? Or did you literally just sort of go there, get a one-way flight and think, I'll just wing it when I get there, which you can at 19, can't you? One-way flight and just hope for the best.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I went there, and it's the weirdest experience. And again, I think this is how you become a better person in life. People want to grow and they want to become financially better, mentally better. They want to, better themselves. They've got to put themselves in positions you don't want to be in. So I remember when I was 19 years old and going to these networking events and sticking a bloody sticker on. My name's Lewis. How you doing? You're right. I'm Lewis. And you're shaking this guy's hand. You're thinking, I could be in a pub with my mates here, but I'm in Dubai at 7 p.m. in a networking event with 50-year-old men and women. But that's how I ended up actually meeting my best friend that lives in England now, that I met at a networking event, a guy called Ben. And that was, like I said, 16 years ago. Met him there. He set up a real estate company in Dubai as well. That didn't work out. He moved back to the UK. But I met him from that journey. So when I moved to Dubai, literally, I knew no one. Dubai wasn't what it is now. Dubai now is about footballers coming over and celebrities coming over and the lifestyle of it. When I came there, it was sand, and you can become a millionaire overnight. So it wasn't like what it is today. So yeah, there was no plan, and there was no plan. It was just, I'm going to go there. And this is what I say to younger people now. I say, if someone really wants to make money and they want the best advice I can give them, do this. But when I do business for life, I keep it simple. I don't overcomplicate it. I will say, if you want to make money, go and find out who's making money and walk in that direction. If you have that basic concept, you will make money. You will tag on to what they're doing. And that was my goal that I wanted to do.
Brilliant. So when you go, like you say, Dubai was not the place then that it is now. Did it feel like more of a risk, even though you were 19 and, like you say, you didn't have the baggage of sort of wife and children and all that kind of stuff and responsibilities? But like you say, it's now a haven in every sense of the word for people all around the world. But it was a little bit more underdeveloped at that point. What was it about, seeing it on the TV? You're like, do you know what? That's where I'm going to go and make my millions. Or was it just that the thing it almost was perceived as that's the place to go and make your millions overnight? Was that it?
Yeah, I think when you're younger, if someone had said to me, like, why are you going to Dubai? I would have said money, fame, success, and power. That's it. That's the only reason I was going to Dubai. I mean, there's no other anyone that come to Dubai at that time was not coming for sunshine. So you go to sunshine, you go to Spain, you go to Florida. I had a basic goal that I was going there to make money and change my life. And you watch the people driving the Lamborghinis, and you watch people driving these amazing cars and living in these amazing houses. And I was 19. I was selling, 2-bed mid-terrace in Coventry for like £100,000. I was just like, this is not for me. This isn't. So no, it wasn't a risk. I see a lot of people travel. I mean, we've all got friends and family that are younger than us, and I watch these younger people travel to, Ayia Napa and Mali, or wherever they go, the younger, and they do their seasons in Ibiza. I was doing the same thing, but I was doing it for business purposes, for monetary value.
Brilliant. We've had a fellow Dubai. What do you call people from Dubai? Dubaian? Dubaiist?
Dubai.
Just someone in Dubai.
Someone in Dubai, fair enough. Okay, so we've had someone in Dubai has been
legend.
A fellow Dubai legend has been in touch, Spencer Lodge. And he said, I don't know whether this is going to be a genuinely lovely story, like he's pitched it, or if he's thrown you under the bus here.
You might have thrown us under the bus.
Oh no! But he said, ask Lewis about Wendy Stapleton. It's a lovely story.
That is a lovely story, but I'm just going to tell you about Spencer Lodge first.
Okay. Yes, please do. Reveal all.
So, Spencer is about 15, I think maybe 15, 20 years older than me, and when I first moved to Dubai, I was playing football. So I used to play 11 side. I used to play left back. I used to play wing back. And I was all right at football. It wasn't bad. And I used to play, quite competitive. And when I moved to Dubai, I started playing this team called the Dubai Dogs. And I was playing left back. And Spencer comes to the team. Dubai Dogs. They weren't very creative, was it? The first team was the Dogs and the second team was called the Mongrels. I ended up in the Mongrels, in case you're interested. But when I was playing for the team, I was playing left back, having a few games, and Spencer come along. And Spencer went and sponsored all the team, and he took my place. He just went, I'm now playing, I'm sponsoring the shirt, and just took my, and I was benched for the whole season because he had sponsored all the shirts. So that's Spencer Lodge boy. He single-handedly killed my football career. But Wendy Stapleton, just on her, she's a lady that lives in Ras Al Khaimah now. She's got the leading estate agency in another emirate. And you meet these people along the way that if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I was today. And I always say thank you to her because when I first moved to Dubai, I got royally stitched up. And these are stories that people will go through. Is that I moved to Dubai and I went to work for this company that I said I'd seen on TV. And they said they had an office in the Grosvenor House Hotel. And they were the biggest estate agency. And what happened was I got to the Grosvenor House and I said, okay, where's your office? He said, oh, no, it's not an office. But when I flew there, he said, it's the business centre. So what I want you to do, if anybody comes and asks you, what you're doing here, you just pretend that you're staying in the hotel. I was like, what? He said, yeah. I was like, are you fucking joking? I thought, right, I live in Dubai. What's going on here? So this went on for about a month, and I was using my own phone bill. Bear in mind, I come out of £500. I had a phone bill of £300, so he didn't give me a phone. And they ended up selling 2 properties to this guy. And this, when I sold the properties to get paid, the guy went, oh, no, I'm really sorry. I know this guy, so you can't get the money. And I'm sitting there thinking, fucking hell, I'm in trouble here. This guy has royally stitched me up. So then I met Wendy, and Wendy worked for another company and just went, Lewis, you're not making money here. Here's my credit card. Go and get a car. I didn't have a car. You pay me that money back. So she put her credit card down for me, got me a car, lent me some money, and really got me on my feet in this other company. And if it wasn't for that, I would either be living on the street or I'd be back in England. So you meet people along the way that you think, wow, you saved my life. And, I have gratitude forever for someone like that put their neck on the line for me.
Wow. What was it in you that she saw that she wanted to back? Because I imagine at that point in time, there's probably a lot of people that had come to make their fortune in the sort of the land of the sand at that point in time. What did she see in you that do you think that was made you stand out from every other 19-year-old who come for probably a 6-week stint of trying to make it and then give it up?
I think, to be honest with you, she's just a good lady. There's not many people like her around anymore. A lot of people come with, when they lend money, they want something back for it. They want interest on top. They want to give a favour. They give a favour to make a favour. And I think with her, and as someone that I've known since I've moved here, she's never asked me for anything. She's never done anything. She's never even mentioned the fact that she helped me out. It's just like, that's etched in my head. So to be honest with you, I just think maybe she saw sympathy. She was making good money. She was a really good agent. I thought, wow, this young guy, he's trying to make it and he's getting stitched up here. I'm going to go out my way to help him. I mean, I think it was more sympathy and her being a good person that created that cocktail for her, giving me that stepping stone. So yeah, she was a star. And I pass that forward now to a lot of people. I do a lot behind the scenes. I do charity with people. I always invest in, GoFundMe accounts without anyone knowing who I am or what I'm doing, because I just think that, you can pay it forward. You don't need people to know what you're doing. And yeah, I just think karma comes back to you in different ways. So, I'm very thankful to people like that I've met along the way.
So Wendy saves your bacon. Thank you, Spencer. That was a lovely story, and nice to hear about the real Spencer Lodge as well. Sponsored the football club and sacked you off. That's the Spencer we all know and love. Good man.
Yeah, there you go.
But so Wendy comes along. You go out to Dubai. You're in this hotel pretending that you're a hotel guest.
spending your 500 quid's worth of burn money, 300 quid it's now on a phone bill. You sell till property to get stitched up. Windy comes along and saves your bacon. How do you go from what happened next? Because I'm really intrigued because your journey in Dubai starts in 2008. We're only in 2020 now. 16 years later. Hang on. 14 years later.
You lost 2 years.
Good maths. 14 years later. You've gone from potentially having to fly home,
sitting in a hotel lobby,
to having the most respected estate agency in the region. How did that happen in under an hour?
Into an hour. No, I mean, keep it short. I mean, the first thing I'd say to everybody listening to this is no such thing as an overnight success. People see my journey now, and people that meet me, that meet me for the first time today or last week or even last year, see my house and my car and the lifestyle that I've got, but they don't see that I've been doing it 16 years. I come in 2006 and it's now 2022. And in short, I mean, how I got there is when I joined Wendy's company, I was really good at the job. I made a lot of sales. Then I started buying my own properties and taking a massive risk. I had £50,000 in the bank after year one, and I bought a property for £500,000, which is 10% down. And it wasn't ready. It was a piece of paper. And in 24 hours, I flipped it and made £150,000 in a day. There's a funny story behind that as well. So this company that I went to work for actually got sacked from them as well for being a dickhead again.
There's a pattern here, Lewis. There's a pattern.
There is a pattern, isn't there? So what ended up happening here? Again, I was young, so I don't see this now. And this will educate the younger people in my company on what you to do and what not to do. So the story behind this and how I got there is I flipped this property. Day before, I got sacked from this company for not turning up to a morning meeting. I said I was on appointment. I wasn't. I was out on the lash. I was 20 years old, living the dream in Dubai, making money. And so I bought this property. And if you can imagine Dubai, all you do in Dubai is you get a piece of paper, and that piece of paper, you turn up to the developer's office and you switch it over to the new owner. So I bought this property £50,000 down, and then I sold to this lady. This lady says, right, we're going to give you the money and transfer the ownership, but I've sold it to someone else. I was like, okay, yeah, no problem, I don't care. As long as I get my £150,000, we're cool. I've turned up to the developer's office. Who was sitting in the developer's office? It was the end buyer that's write me £150,000 check out. The boss that had just sacked me the day before, and he didn't know that I bought it. So you can imagine me sitting there.
No.
Like, thank you so much for that check. And you can't back out the deal or anything. It's just once you've committed financially in Dubai, there's no backing out the transaction. So yeah, that was the last time I got sacked. I want to clear that up to you. That was the time that I realised, okay, maybe I need to grow up and stop going out. And the story going on from there is I just started selling houses, become really job. And in 2008, so 2 years into my stint in Dubai, me and my brother, they just moved to Dubai. I said, Carl, there's a massive gap here. I said, let me tell you what the gap is. There's no morning meetings that happen. There is no training. There's no paydays. If you do a sale in Dubai, you get the money the day that you do the deal, which I don't believe is correct. There's no structure. There's no KPIs. There's no real business. It was just people with a laptop on a spreadsheet trying to sell houses. So we wanted this mandate where we would create this company, and we said, we're a 3-man team. We said, we're going to be the #1 estate agency in Dubai, hands down. And people thought we were deluded. They were laughing because these companies were massive. And what ended up happening in 2008, we put all of our money into it. So every bit of money that I made and flipped properties, I put every penny into it. The only thing I had left in my name, the only thing, was a black Range Rover. And I wanted that Range Rover for when I was going through Dubai, especially when you're younger. I wanted to front a little bit and let people know Lewis Allsop, CEO, is the man. I can't turn up in a Toyota Corolla. It was a black one, black windows, black. It was black everything. I looked like someone on the street that does things that you shouldn't be doing. I was that guy. And we set this company in 2008. And you can imagine this. We got the keys for the property for our new office. It's a 5,000 square foot office for 3 people. The day that we opened the key and the door. The minute we did it, all the money's in there. Read the newspaper. The world recession has happened, 2008. So the best thing that happened to me, and I still play by this now, I was so naive and I was so young that I just thought, cool, no recession, no problem. We'll sell houses. If someone wants to sell, we'll sell. If someone wants to buy, we'll buy. And that got us through. If you imagine these new companies, the big companies have massive events. They were chopping their costs down. Us as a new startup, we're still really low on outgoing. So we were chopping away at the market and we were just accelerating through and everyone else was cutting costs. So that 2008 time we set up with the mandate of being the best, we went from me and my brother and another person to about 25 people. And if you fast forward from there with that same ethos all the way to today, we've got just under 400 people. I think we've got 9 businesses operating underneath it. We just won the award from the Land Department, which is the Dubai government, for the most sales in Dubai. We're the biggest mortgage lending company in Dubai for some of the major banks in Dubai. We're just opening a recruitment company, which has been going just under a year, which we've got some of the biggest airlines on board, biggest banks on board. We hire for their technology. We've got a maintenance company that maintains all of our landlords' properties. We've got a short-term letting platform. We've built this massive company. We're not just a real estate company. If any part of the journey of living in Dubai, whether you want to own a home, maybe a house fixing, a mortgage, if you want a job, we are now pretty much a touching point in every single part of your life when you start to work with Allsop. So it's been an amazing journey. And, I'm still proud when someone says to me, you've come from the £300 to Dubai to pretty much, we've pretty much took over Dubai. If someone says what we are now, we're the Foxtons of London in Dubai. And we're at that level where I think Foxtons have got 1,000 staff. I want 1,000 staff in 4 years. We've got 400 now. So we're not far away from touching the Foxtons of what I'd like to be in the UAE.
Absolutely amazing. What a fantastic journey. What's the the number one thing that you personally have had to grow into? Because it seems like what got you through the initial bits. Okay, you had to have you got sacked a couple of times, but it seems like backing up your ability was that ability to sell. But obviously, as you become a manager, then a managing director, a CEO, and then a group CEO like you are now with 400 staff, you can't rely on the skill set that you relied on back in the day to get you through. Correct. Now. What's the number one skill that you have now as a group CEO, as opposed to just someone who's great at selling properties?
I think for anybody growing a business, this is the best advice I can give you, and I found this really difficult myself, is you're no longer a friend. When you're at 80 to 100 staff or below, 10 staff, 15, you're a friend. You're the guy you go for a beer with. You're the guy that you go and, you go out with and you can have a laugh with. But when you start getting bigger, what you realize is that you have a job to do, and then decisions that you make sometimes are not going to be favorable, and you've got to accept that. I was the guy that you go to on the floor. I was the lad you go out for a beer with. I was the lad that you go for football with, and that was what I was when I was 20, 21, 25, 26, 27. But the later I go into the job, everyone's got their own cliques now in my business. They've all got their own friendships, and I'm no longer in these circles. But I accept that as a CEO. My job now is to run a business, and I don't have to be friends with people. I have friends in the business, but the reality is, and people don't understand this until you get bigger, even understanding people's names. When you've got 400 people join you and you've got 15, 20 people a week, I can only remember 100 people. I can't remember more than that. It's physically impossible. I don't have a great memory. So sitting down and trying to really understand every person, every emotion in the business like you did when it's younger, it's physically impossible. So how I manage my business now, I have core managers, managing directors, branch directors, and I meet the managers, and then I delegate them, explain my vision, and then they will go out and put that out there. So I would say the one thing that I've learned from it is, if you're going to be a CEO and you want to be really successful at it, understand that if you want to make everyone happy, go and sell ice cream, go and work at Toys R Us, go and work at McDonald's. Everyone's happy receiving a Burger King or a McDonald's or a Big Mac. But if you want to do this job, it's a tough job, and sometimes you've got to look at your profits, your turnover, what's good for the business, not just what's good for the individual. And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. And a lot of people just want to be liked. There's so many people that put stuff on Instagram today, and the first time they put a post on to chase a like. They put a story on to get someone to go, oh, look, he's in the Maldives. Oh, he's got a nice car. Oh, and they're waiting for someone to comment. That world that we live in now is the world that, unfortunately, a lot of the younger generation live in, where it's very difficult to be a successful CEO and expect to be liked if you want to be successful. And I think I've got that down to a T.
What was it as well with your brother? So there's the two of you and one other person. You've lumped all your savings into this sort of 5,000 square foot office. But you said, there's a gap in the market here. It's not been run properly. Everyone's just running around with spreadsheets. As soon as you sell a property, you exchange it that day or you complete on it, then you get your money in. There's no structure to it. How did you know that was the gap in the market? Because by that point, you know, you're still only like in your early 20s. You've been sacked from a couple of estate agency jobs. It's not like you've got like a decade of experience in the marketplace. How did you know that was the gap in the market? Was it just like a gut feel? You like, it just needs to be more professionalized, and you wanted to, because you hadn't got that much professional experience at that point to know what was missing, if that makes sense?
My business partner is my brother. So he's the concept behind the structure. To give you an idea of how our business goes, if anyone follows football, I'm the playmaker, I'm the attacking midfielder, I'm number 10, and Carl's a defensive midfielder that sweeps up everything around it. And we're like chalk and cheese. I'm the spender, Carl's the saver. But the business wouldn't work without them two concepts working together. And I think that anyone owning a business, having one person running a business and one mentality just doesn't work. So when we set up, my job was to bring money in. That was it. I'm going to bring money in. I'm going to bring staff in. I'm going to, make sure it works. But what Carl was doing behind the scenes is making the business streamline. He was the first person to bring a CRM in, and that CRM will come in, and then we'd be the next person to uniform contracts and then set up meeting times. And that was hard at the start for me because I don't really uniform to anybody. I'm pretty much unemployable. A bit like someone like Spencer. You can never employ Spencer. You can never employ him because he is who he is. He's never going to say come in at 9 o'clock, and he's never going to come in exactly when you want. He's not going to do it. He will do what he wants to do, and he does it very well. And I'm the same. But what I found when you're trying to run a business is that you have to be in at 9 to let everyone else be at 9. So Carl was very good at bringing that all together, and that formula between us both worked. It's chalk and cheese. The personalities are completely opposite. I think Carl is on Clubhouse. I did ask him to come on, so if he was going to come on, you could get him on, ask him. But I'm just messaging now to see if he's on.
What's that like working with your brother? I guess it's different. I employed my brother for 16 years, and we reached a point where I politely said to him, "Look, in order to be brothers, you have to leave and you have to go and work for somebody else." And but I guess that's different being business. What's it like being business partners with your brother?
At the start, it's very ego-driven. I mean, you can only imagine. Like again, whenever the clash is there, is that I want to spend and I want to go gung-ho, and Carl had his way that he wanted things done. And there's been a few times, right at the start, he'd storm out the office and we wouldn't speak for half a day. And if it was a normal person that wasn't your brother, you might not speak for a year or never speak again. But when it's your brother, it's a little bit different, isn't it? You think, we call each other kids. So it'd be like, "How you doing, kid? You're right? Yeah, fine." And the argument was just sort of forgotten instantly. But there's definitely a clash of egos. Obviously Carl's my older brother. So, Carl actually come to Dubai because I started calling my dad and saying, "Carl, GA," or my dad, GA, Gary Allsop, just to let you know, I've had an amazing month. I made £70,000 this month, blah, blah, blah. And Carl was in England, and Carl would sit, the pivotal point where Carl come to Dubai, Carl was sitting in the Coventry City game, and Carl said to my dad at the time, he was like, "It's not fair. Lewis is making this money. I'm better than Lewis. I've been doing estate agency 3 or 4 years." And my dad said to me, he was like, my dad's a very successful entrepreneur. So he floated a company with £1,000 investment to a 90 million market cap on the stock exchange, a company called Future Telecom, which was the large provider for LG, which was Lucky Gold Star at the time, and Ericsson. So he's been through the business sector himself. And he said to Carl at the time, he was like, pour me a drink. I don't care about your excuse. If you want to be successful, get on a flight and go and work with your brother. If that's what you want to do, you don't come talk to me about why Lewis is doing better than you. And I think that moment, Carl just said, "I'm off." And then he ended up coming to Dubai, and we started the business, we clashed. But where we are today, he knows now. I say to him, "Don't suffocate me. I'll do what I want to do. You do what you want to do." And we've learned now that we do our jobs together and we don't step on each other's toes, and we know what we're both very good at. And it works.
That's brilliant. How did you... I'm really intrigued by the fact you were a 19-year-old kid who sort of went with £500 to Dubai, but you've obviously come from a very successful family. What was the sort of the secret parenting hack that your dad did so that you and your brother weren't sort of silver spoon kids? Because it sounds like he did very, very well personally. How did he keep you guys hungry enough to want to travel to the other side of the world to somewhere that was seriously sort of like underdeveloped at that point in time? How did he do that without making you sort of like lazy rich kids?
It's a difficult one because I'm going through this process with my children.
Yeah,
I've got a 3-year-old and a an 8-month-old. My 3-year-old went to school the other day, and I've got like a lift in my house. So I've got like 4 stories with a lift in the middle of it. And she went to school the other day and went, "Yeah, I come in the lift to Daddy's Rolls Royce." I'm like, "No, you cannot say that in the real world. That's not how the world goes down." And when I talk about how I'm trying to get my children at the moment, I look at how my dad did it, and what my dad was very good at. We never had a penny. He could have gave me the world, but if I wanted £5, he'd say, "Go and clean my car. Go and do something. Go and get a job." He was very unsympathetic in a good way. It was just like, "Okay, well, the world's there. You go and do what you got to do. I'm here to support your son." But when you've got a father like that, I think that it is in the DNA. I don't think I'm successful because I'm ultra intelligent and I learn. I just think that I've been brought up around someone that's done really well. He was the 68th person to ever go down to the Titanic. He floated his company on a stock exchange. He's done so many amazing things that he's done, and I've been around that. And you sort of become in awe of what he's created. He's been the fastest fiber optics company. He was the first ever internet provider to have unlimited internet. So this is talking like early 2000s, and they're the number one internet provider for about 6 months, and that didn't go to plan for a few reasons. And he's done so many things. He was actually the ambassador for Liberia. So Liberia, the country, he was a sports ambassador. So if you watch the Beijing Olympics, he's walking around, white guy, with the Olympics flag around the thing, and he was like an advisor to like the government there. And he's done so many amazing things, but he's took me on that journey. We actually bought a gold mine 11 years ago in Liberia. So we flew to Monrovia, and we invested our own money, so not his money, our money, into it, went there, and we've seen this amazing gold mine where these African guys were getting this spade, and they were pulling gold out of this into this dredging machine from this, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing we've ever seen." So we've been through all these things. I think that being around someone like that, you just naturally you have an entrepreneurial spirit. I think you are who you surround yourself with. I think in life, if you hang around with negative people, you become negative. If someone eats healthy, you end up eating healthy. And I just think that is just who you surround yourself with. My dad was one of my influences, and he's a massive part of what I do, but he didn't give me a penny. And that was a massive part, I think, me becoming better. I've never asked for rent. I've never asked for money. I've never said I've been skinning money. If I didn't have the money, I'd make the money. And that mentality is what I want to drill into my children.
So how are you doing that with your own kids? Because it's very easy, when you sort of look back, I think retrospectively, like kids of 80s and 90s parents had a different mentality. But, especially like say you're dropping your daughter off in a £250,000 car, which she's come down to in a lift. How do you instill sort of a lack of complacency in a 3-year-old who has got all of the trappings of success and opulence, and you don't want to make that a negative thing because that's just the environment she's built up in. But how do you then juxtapose that? Because even like what you said to her, like, you can't say about like the lift and the Rolls Royce thing, but that's her reality. So how do you, I know she's a bit young to send her out washing your car, especially your car. Don't send a 3-year-old with a sponge near that thing. But how do you instill that? Is it sort of, are you and your wife very mindful of it, and that you sort of have to show like an other side of the world to her? How are you doing it? I'm really intrigued.
It's a difficult one because I'm very fortunate. I've built this amazing life. Like, we go to London in the summer for 4 months, and we've got this life where she knows we go to London, and she knows we own an apartment in like the Atlantis residences and in Dubai, and she go, "Oh, there's Atlantis." And I'm trying to get her to understand that's not real life. And how I do that is, if we're buying her a new toy, every kid comes with 4 toys. I want all 4 toys. It's important that I say, no, we can only afford 1 toy. We don't have the pennies for it. And she's like, "Daddy, when will we have more pennies? If we go to shopping, if we go and do anything, I make sure it is done." I want to buy my child everything, but I know my worst fear is having a spoiled brat. So I think the hardest thing for a parent is pulling back and letting them know that they can't have it. And it makes them sad, of course. I go to the shop every day to like the Morrisons, and I went this morning, and I just see this magazine for like a Barbie magazine. It only costs £1. It's nothing. But I know I can't get it because every time she's going to expect a Barbie magazine. So anyone that's a parent knows that love that you have, but you're trying to build a DNA at the start of your child. And I think that, as tough as it is, you've got to let them know we don't have the money, we can't afford it, even though you're lying to them. it's how you've got to drill it into them. And it's, trust me, anyone that's got kids will know. Actually, you'll know this, how tough it is.
It's tricky, isn't it? My son, we had to go to the post office the other day, and exactly the same thing, like a little dinosaur magazine. It's got like the little crappy plastic toys on the front of it. And he went, "Oh, I want that." I said, "Well, you can't always get it." And then he kicked off. And the more he kicked off, the more I'm like, "You are not having the magazine." And everyone's looking in the shop at me. And we live in like quite a nice town, and they're like, "You." No, I did it in the end. To be fair, they're like, "You miserable old bastard." But I literally had to drag him out of the shop, kicking and screaming, and going, "I want the dinosaur magazine." I was like, "The more you act like that, the less you're going to go and get it." And he's like, "I'm really sorry, Daddy," but he couldn't understand it. He was like, "But why can't we?" I did not get right. Listen, right. 3 days later, he'd been really well behaved, so I got him the magazine, but I didn't get it at the time, and that's the main parenting lesson.
I don't know if it's different because Lewis has got a girl first. It's the girls, just anyone who's got a little girl. I don't know if they just got you wrapped.
Well, Paul's got 17 of each. What's harder, boys or girls?
Yeah.
Boys are harder than girls.
No, but to lure you to have you wrapped around their little finger.
Oh, his have got him wrapped like his kids.
No, do you know what? Well, I don't know about that side of it, but from a behaviour point of view, boys are like dogs on heat, aren't they? They are. My 7-year-old, honestly, he runs around the house like he's like the king. You know, just runs riot. The girls are happy to sit there, be quiet. Do
you find it easier to not give to your son though, or than your daughters?
The girls have got a look if they give you that look and they gang up on me, which they do sometimes. They come to me in pairs because they're both old.
They do actually. Yeah, I saw them do it.
They're old enough to work out exactly how to do it.
They hunt in packs.
So they come to me together and they give you a look, and when they give you that look, it's pretty hard to say no. But mine are relatively grounded though. My wife's done I would say I'll take the credit for that, but I don't.
You can't take credit.
My wife's done a pretty good job of keeping them relatively grounded.
How do you stay hungry, Lewis? Because obviously, you're from an like the sales environment is a very dog eat dog sort of place to be. Floyd Mayweather has famously said, it's very hard to get up and go running when you wake up in a silk robe and slippers. How do you keep the hunger? Is it because I guess with every level comes another devil, because what you had to do as a young, fresh salesman is the same sort of mentality that you have to do as a more sort of mature, established CEO now. Is that how you keep the hunger, or how do you sort of, what gets you up and gets you excited to leave the house every day to go and win again?
It's it's a very similar saying. It's like how do you stay hungry when you're fed every day? And that is such a true saying. I mean, I look at some of the guys I work with, and I look at people who are successful, and it is difficult. I mean, you can't deny it. If you've got a business, my business runs itself. I've got amazing managers that do it, and I don't need to be in. So if I say to me, how do I stay hungry? When I'm at my hungriest is when someone attacks me. If someone attacks me and they come for my business and they go for my staff, or I see that they're posting that they're the number one company, I react to that. And I think that's what makes the best the best. I mean, it's very easy to coast. So in terms of, if I was to say to anybody, if you are doing well, have a look at what I've said, because other people are doing really well. And that, if you have that competitive streak, you could be winning. I could win the lottery and I'd be upset that I'm paying tax. That's how I am. I'm just built that way. And, we had our record month in January that ever had in the history of our business. So it's the biggest turnover, biggest week we've ever had. But some guy posts to say they've had a good week. It still pisses me off. I can't help it. And that's just who I am. And I don't know. I mean, what also keeps me hungry is technology. I'm a massive fan of learning. I think when you're growing a business, you have to be interested in what you're doing. I mean, I'm interested in tech. I did a seminar this morning with 340 sales agents we've got. Not just the front end, talking about how social media boosting posts work and how to attack audience evaluations, and watching that come into life. And then we're building technology at the moment, like APIs to push through into certain, WhatsApp APIs from our listings, so you can instant chat to agents and booking viewings and basic stuff really that's tech based. So if you ask me how do I stay hungry, basically, I'm very competitive, and even if I'm sitting at the top of the hill, if someone's coming near the top of the hill, I will keep climbing, and that's just how I am. It's a horrible way to be, but do you know what hurt me the most this year if I don't win the #1 agency again this year, until the day that I die in Dubai, you will see a very badass Lewis come out, and I will make sure that I am #1. That's just how I am. I can't help it.
What is your dad? Someone who's who himself was super successful. What does he make of what his boys have gone and done?
Yeah, I mean, they're happy. I think my dad gets it. My dad understands the turnover of the business, and he understands it. I've actually got my mum and dad on the payroll for the company, so I've retired both of my parents fully, and my dad has a non-executive chairman role in the business in the UAE, and he doesn't do anything at all. And my mum is an operations director in the UK, and she was a school cook in the UK for, I think, £9,000 a year. We put her on £27,000, and she's like, "Son, you're paying me too much money." I was like, "Don't do anything. Just sweep up when it needs sweeping up. Don't even go in. Don't do what you got to do." My mum doesn't get the concept of what we're doing. We fly her out here. We flew her business the last time she was here, and she'll come to our houses and she'll say to me, she'll go, "Son, just make sure you've got some rainy day money. Make sure you've got a nest egg." Listen to you like, "Oh, Mum, you just don't get it," and she really worries. But my dad understands. He understands what's going on. But it's very difficult to grasp, even for my friends and family. I think when you're building a successful business and you've got friends in England that are on £25,000, £30,000, £50,000, which is amazing. It's when you're building a business and you start telling people the millions of pounds that you're turning over in a week and a month, it's very hard for anyone to grasp that concept. It's nearly impossible. So one thing I've learned when it comes to friends and family, I don't talk about money with people. I go home, I'm a normal guy. Me and my wife are very simple. We go to Zara, that's our main shop we go to. We like Topshop. I don't go and blast Louis Vuitton and Gucci for £500. It's just not who I am. I just don't see the point in it. The only thing that I've got that's expensive, I like tailored suits. That's the only thing you'd ever know about me. But if you walk past me in the street, I've got beautiful watches, but I'm wearing my Apple Watch. I wear my Apple Watch everywhere that I go. And my concept to other people and family is don't talk about money with them, and because they won't understand it when you get to that level. They will never grasp the concept of it.
Just to give people an idea, you are the biggest agent in the UAE or in Dubai last year.
Yes.
How much value of property did you guys sell last year?
Fucking hell. To give you an idea, we did last month 872 million dirhams worth of property. So it's about £280 million
in a month.
In a month.
Okay. When you're like on camera, you try and style it out by not smirking. I'm doing that right now, but I'm smirking.
It's that's our sales. Obviously, we've got our mortgage division, which I think we're in the 114 million, and then our short-term lettings. It's the recruitment, the maintenance. It's a big business, and
not bad in a region, in an area where estate agency fees are some of the highest in the world.
Do you know this is the difference with the UK and the UAE. So in the UK, estate agents, and this is the problem. Battle against Purple Bricks and Yopa that charge £600, £700 a deal, and it's just an arse ache. Over here, the buyer pays 2% and the seller pays 2%. So if you imagine our average sale price is, let's say a basic apartment's £500,000, our commission we will make on every sale is £20,000. My brokers are on 50-50, so they make £10,000 for every sale they do. My top agent last month put on the board, so he gets 50% of that. He put £382,000 on the board. So his take home was £180,000, £190,000 tax free take home with no tax. So that's not a one off. My top 10 guys all took over £100,000. Dubai is a different world, and it's very difficult to comprehend when you've lived in London or Coventry, but I'm doing nothing any different. When I talked to you guys at the start about what I do, I've walked towards the money. I know Dubai has money. I know it's there. And if anyone is an estate agent or in property now, and they're even thinking about how do I get financially to the next level, you go and become an estate agent in Dubai, and you are basic at your job. If you are terrible at your job, you probably make £80,000 to £100,000. Yes, it's a little more expensive to live in Dubai, but I'm telling you now, you can see the numbers. I am not doing anything different doing Coventry, Leamington, Neaton, London. I'm selling houses to families, and the Western families. They're not like we're dealing with people you don't know who they are. It is just the industry and the life that we're in. And I've dropped myself into that epicenter of where people have money, it's normal for them to spend a few £1 million, £4 or £5 million on a house. And, there are lots of buyers there for that. So it's completely opposite to the UK when you talk about fees, the 4% and versus the £600.
Wow. I can see Ashley Shipman.
He's
there,
booking a flight as we speak.
I was about to say, yeah, he's just gone to net flights. Put that down.
He's just WhatsApped me, actually.
Have you got a job?
Yeah. Get that spare room ready, Lou. I'm on my way.
If Paul Abercrombie is one of his references on his CV, you might not be so willing to employ Ash after that, to be fair. Right, I think we better open it up to the floor. If you've got a little bit... Are you all right for a bit of time, Lewis, if we open up to some Q&A?
I'm enjoying it. You guys are bringing the banter, so you've got me entertained.
Lewis, you're loving, while we're arranging that stuff, you're loving Coventry City, stabilised a little bit in the Championship now. They seem a little bit more stable than they were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Matt Robbins, manager, that's it's been with us 5 years now. I think he's one of the most long-standing managers in the Championship. I think he's the second long-standing manager in Coventry. But the DNA of the football, we've not spent money, and this is what I think a lot of the big clubs are doing. They're spending money. We buy free transfers. We buy people out of contract. We take people that are on lower league with the right DNA. And if you look at what we play now, play 3 centre-backs, wing-backs, 1 AMC, 1 forward, and we play pressing fast football. We've got the cheapest. I think we've got the second cheapest wage budget in the Championship, and every team that's playing us are saying that's the best team I've played in the Championship. So yeah, we sponsored them for 6 years. I'm sure you know that already. We had Allsop and Allsop all over the shirts at Wembley and everything else for 6 years, and that was amazing. You imagine going to your hometown or in London, 90,000 people in Wembley. Your team lifts the trophy and also on Sky Sports, The Sun, and everyone's walking around with your logo on it. It was just, it was amazing 6 years.
They went through a strange ownership model, didn't they? Listening to it from afar, they was backed by an investment fund or something, wasn't they? And lacked investment into the club and sold the ground and all sorts of stuff.
We sold our ground for £100 million. We owned it cash. We then bought the stadium for like 500 million, which is called the Ricoh Arena. It's now changed from the Ricoh, and it had a casino. Well, it has a casino underneath. Very, very nice. 38,000 people in the stadium. And then what ended up happening is Coventry went down from Premier League to Championship to League One, and we couldn't afford to keep the stadium, so we sold the stadium with the rent back. We then got kicked out of the stadium for 2 seasons. We've been playing at Birmingham and Notts County's ground. I think it's Notts County's. We didn't have a stadium. Like, we had no money. We were pretty much going to liquidation, and that's when Mark Robbins took over. And he's done an amazing job. So I think Coventry in the next 2 years will be in the Premier League, but we'll be down again because the standards are too high to come back up. We don't have the money to stay in there, like Norwich and teams like that.
What was that like? You mentioned it was you used the word amazing, but to actually see your family's name, a business that you and your brother have gone and sort of committed to creating in 2008. What was that like as a mega fan of football, to be in Wembley, to see your team at Wembley lifting a trophy and your family's name is emblazoned on the chests of the players that at one point you used to watch and idolise as a kid? What did that feel like in that moment?
That's amazing, but imagine playing FIFA and your name appears on FIFA. Anyone that plays FIFA or Football Manager, I'm a massive Football Manager fan as well. When you're playing as Cov City and you see your team appear in the game day, and that's where I get my kicks. I mean, it's great going to Wembley and all these people, but FIFA and Football Manager, when your name's on there, you haven't made it. Interesting fact about, does anyone play Football Manager or not?
I used to, yeah, back in the day. I used to love it.
So on Football Manager, me and my brother paid about £500 each to SI Games, who built it, and we're actually like a Regan player. So when the players come up the next season, the younger players, you'll see Lewis Allsop, a 6'5" left back, is on there, and Carlos up. We're constantly on there every season.
Well, keep Spencer away from that.
He's took my place already.
Brilliant. Right, well, let's open it up. We've had loads of people messaging in the back channel. Jag has messaged a bit in touch and said, and this was at 7:10. He said it's only been going on for 5 minutes, but this is one of your top 5 guests of all time. His heart is definitely in the right place. So thanks.
Should we do a reset first, then?
Yeah, let's do a reset, and then we'll have some. We'll open it up to Q&A. So if you'd like to ask your questions to Lewis Allsop this morning, flash your mics in a minute after this fancy jingle reset.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
Awesome stuff. Welcome back, everybody. Right. If you would like to, if you've been enjoying this conversation, if you've taken some value from it, click onto the bottom left-hand corner of the room right now. You've got the little double arrow symbol. It says 22 at the moment. That means 22 people have shared this room. There's currently 165 of us listening. 492 have already been in the room this morning. So if you could do us a favour, we'd much appreciate it. Go and click on that button and either share it out onto your socials or share it out onto Clubhouse. Yeah, I'll have a black coffee. Thanks, Paul. Cheers, mate. We could have done that during the jingle reset, couldn't we? But this is why we like the BBC, but a bit shitter. But yeah, go and share out the show. Much appreciated. And yeah, we have to make our own coffee. We've got to sell a few more. We've got to sell a bit more stuff to have someone bring us some coffee, haven't we?
I'll go work for Lewis and sell some property.
I'll tell you what. Let's wait till Paul never takes his phone with him. Oi, shipman, I'm thinking, if we can get, what do you think? I reckon Clubhouse on the road, Dubai, the Dubai special. We'll go see. We'll go see Lewis. I mean, we can't do it because the government don't want us there. But we'll have to do a sly one, 5G or whatever.
Yeah, well, Lewis is in. We're going to the operation.
We got Spencer who's out there as well. Kirk Miller, he can keep us fit.
You come and sit here. I'll show you where you can sit. You can sit. You can go and work on that piano there.
Tell you what, if you let Ashley Shipman in that room, it'll be like a small dog's been in there after 2 minutes. Right, let's open it up to some questions because I know we've got loads of questions. I've got... Okay, right, cool. So Sarah has been in touch. She said that she can't talk because she's working. Oh, she's working. Not just working, she's working out. But could you ask... what's the number one thing that Lewis does to keep his teams motivated and getting them to buy into your long-term plans? And you mentioned this earlier that you and Carl had spotted this gap in the market, and one of the things was there wasn't KPIs or structure or training or a sort of a progression plan for a lot of people. So what is it that you do? What's the number one thing you do to keep your teams motivated? How do you get them to buy into your long-term plans?
So I think when you talk about long-term plans, I think the main thing is a lot of people go cheesy and they say, what do you want to achieve? How do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to be? And it's just like, if you're on a normal salary, it's like, well, how far can I go? What is it I can or can't do? When you speak to people that are in the environment that we're hiring, they're entrepreneurs. They're people that are entrepreneurs working in a business. So a lot of people are interested in their own financial gain. So there's a lot of people over the last 5 years that have bought their first houses in Dubai. I've got guys that live on the same street that I live on. And what keeps people motivated in my job is the money they can make. It's as simple as that. But to get them to that level, okay, this is my theory with the job. When they start the business, any business, realistically, they probably need 6 to 12 months of KPI and training in terms of, if you do this, this, and this is the end product. Once they get to 6 to 12 months, they will no longer need you. But any advice I give to anybody running a business, structure trumps motivation. Structure trumps motivation. Motivation lasts for an hour. Once you had your coffee and you go, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to smash it. My pre-workout kicks in. And then you once that finishes, you're like there sitting in your chair and you're finished. It's important that people know like what it is you need to do in a day and then not leaving till that day is finished with you. And if you have that slow target, it's like going to the gym every day. If you go to the gym and say, even if it's a shit workout, if I do 30 or 40 minutes every day in the gym and religiously do it, you do that every day, it's much better than going to the gym and doing one massive session a week because you can't be out the rest of the week. So I don't think you need to sit there and say to people, believe in the vision. They've got to have their own vision. You need to show them how they can get to the life they want to get to working in our company.
Love it. Do you have a routine that you stick to? You said there about sort of the gym and all that kind of stuff, and the motivation won't last. Do you have a sort of a daily practice or like a morning routine? Obviously, it changes and adjusts with kids. I see you do the daddy daycare drop off quite often. But do you have something that's sort of that underpins your progress? Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I have to train 4 or 5 days a week. I may not look it, so I'm not in like amazing shape, but I have to train because my mental state
I need to clear my head. And I think that obviously exercise releases your endorphins. It creates a better mindset. And I know the only way to describe it, if anyone doesn't exercise, it's like getting up in the morning and then not showering and then going to work. The state that you're leaving this one-dimensional version of yourself where you're just groggy all the way through it. I like to sharpen my mind. So I like to exercise. I like to play football. From my point of view, a big part of where I'm at the moment, I've got to make sure I'm home for bath time and bringing my kids to school. So, I mean, my hours are a bit different to when I started. I work probably 9:30, 10 till 4 o'clock, and I leave at 4:30 to get home for the kids, unless it's a busy day. But the main routine I've got in place at the moment is just to train and then go to work. They're my two main things. Family comes all around the rest of it, but exercise is massive for me.
Love that. Did you have a challenge? Sorry, I said we open up to questions. I've just got more myself. Sorry, it's the podcast for me. I've been selfishly asking all the questions. Did you, when you shifted towards that like 9:30 till 4 o'clock mentality, you know, because like family became important, or your sort of routine around family and that kind of consistency was more important? Did you find, as someone who was like in an environment that is like, full of hustle and that kind of stuff, did you struggle with that to start with? Did you sort of sit there from 4 till 7 when you're doing like book, bed and bath time going, I'm missing opportunities here? Or did you just sort of like love the shift of your mentality and routine?
I'm a bit unique. Me and Carl are very different in this setup, because when I switch off, I'm gone. If I go away on holiday, I don't even entertain work. I'm out.
Oh, really? Okay.
People, yeah. I mean, I give a perfect person. I know Spencer really well. Spencer cannot sit still. Carl can't sit still. They're the type of business people that if they're away for 2 or 3 days, I know they're scratching. Where for me, I have this ability, and it's a great trait where I can go home, I put the PlayStation on, and I'm playing FIFA, and I'm done. I'm out of work. For my holiday, I'm out of work. And what it is for me is it's just I come out of the zone. But what took me a long time to gather, and this is for a lot of the work from home, and this is another subject to talk about, work from home. I feared that working from home, I wouldn't get things done. And I fear that I'm going to miss out on opportunities. What I realised is that the way the world is today, you have your phone, you have your emails. If you want to make money and you want to do, I'm at home now, I'm in my office at home, and I'm doing more work now than I actually probably do in my office. So I think there's this misconception where you think, oh my God, I need my office. And what I did a year ago, I said, right, I'm going to go and work, but I'm going to go and meet people out of the office, rather than sitting in my office and going, I've had a great day, I've been in my office all day. It's not actually doing anything, but people have this mindset where they think they're at their desk or they're doing something. As long as you're affecting your work day, whether that is meetings, new day, new meetings, new diaries, new deals, that's a good day, whether you're sitting at your desk or you're working at home. But that took me a few months to get my head around understanding that actually I can do it anywhere. But it's hard. It's hard because you feel like you're missing out.
Awesome stuff. Right, we've got more questions coming in. Dr. Elizabeth was going to ask you about routines. We've covered that off. Right, guys, we're going to open it up to those on the stage right now. And if you're in the audience, if you would like to come up and ask a question, please feel free to do so. I'm going to turn off the hand raise, and then we'll turn it back on in a second. Please only put your hand up if you'd like to come up on stage and ask Lewis a question. By the way, if you haven't yet gone and followed Lewis, you are missing out. Go on to second row down in the middle. There is Lewis, looking dapper in one of his beautifully made suits. I feel really underdressed today. I really wish that I'd worn even a smart jumper. Do you know what I mean? I've underplayed
You
this.
look a bit like James Morrison.
Oh, shut up, man.
Give us a little rendition.
He cannot sing like James Morrison.
I
want to hear it.
You find James Morrison karaoke Spotify, I'm about to blow your mind. Not in a good way. Not in a good way. Right, if you're on stage, feel free to give us a flash of the mics, and you can ask a question to Lewis Allsop. And if you'd like to come up and ask a question, then stick your hand up when we do the hand raise. Let's go to Mary. Mary Gold. Hello there.
Hi, thank you for this session. Just amazing. It's been a while since I've had such a great share. Thank you, Lewis. Yeah, I was wondering if you had any faith. Did you have a faith, or did you have belief in a power greater than yourself? What sort of keeps you grounded? Because that's what came over from what you were saying. You're very grounded, and I really admire that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words. This is. I try and give you a concept of my life so you understand. I've had both of my children christened. My son was christened at Christmas. My daughter was christened the year before. And I've done that because I went to a Catholic school when I was younger. Obviously, I do believe there is a God of some sort. But if you ask me about where I am my faith, I don't pray. I don't go to church. I don't pray when I'm having a bad time, and I don't pray when I'm having a good time. I see a lot of people that pray when something bad's happening, but they won't pray when something good's happening. And what I've realised in life, and I'm going to say this how I'm going to put this, I'm going to put this in, excuse the swear words. If you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead. And that doesn't matter what language or what faith that you have. I think what I've learned is that just be a good person and the world will be a better place if everyone acts that way. And I think there's a lot of people that get misconstrued in religion. Again, I do believe in religion. I do believe everyone should have some sort of faith. But for me personally, there's a lot of arguments over faith, religion, race, etc., etc. And in the world that we live in today, I think if you put that all to one side and say, okay, this is my theory. If you're a good guy, I'll be good to you. If you're a good guy, I'll be good to you. If the whole world had that concept, I just think the world would be a much better place. So, yeah, I do believe in, like I said, I've had my children christened, but I'm more of a believer in being a good person over anything else. And, yeah, that's my basics of faith, Murray.
Thank you so much. But what keeps you grounded?
I'm no different to anybody else. And because I've been through the journey, people that work with me understand this. And this is a big thing. I mean, when people talk about being grounded, people link that heavily to money and success. That's what they link it to. They go, well, how do you stay grounded? How do you stay grounded? Like, think about it like this. Like, anybody that's had or been around money, imagine you receiving that pair of shoes, okay, that you really want. You've wanted them for months and you dreamt about them shoes. Imagine you get them shoes, okay? And then imagine every day for the next year, your shoes are delivered to you. Them shoes become a lot less important. You know, that thought of having them and wanting them, them shoes become nothing. Now put that concept into money. Imagine having money, the money that a dream that you have, but every day you woke up and that money was in your bank. What that I've come to learn with that is money is just there to go on holiday, to create financial freedom, to create happiness for yourself, for others. Money does create happiness. I believe it does because it creates freedom. I don't think having a nice car makes you happy because money, Marie, is a trick. What happens with money is people buy an island, and when they buy the island, they see someone else got a bigger island. They have a real estate company like me. I had a record month, I said before, and I'm annoyed that someone else had a good month. That's success, that's money, that's everything else. What people miss, and there's a lot of very, very unhappy, wealthy people. And people don't think that. Everyone else thinks in the world that wealth creates happiness, where it doesn't. I think having a sound mindset, being around good people, that keeps you grounded. Money is what people link to keeping grounded, and it's nothing to do with that. I think you just, going back to what I said before, you're a good guy, you're a good guy.
Great, so good. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Awesome stuff. Right, Jagdeep has got a question. Go on, Jagdeep. What's your question, my man?
Yeah, Lewis, firstly, thank you so much. I actually messaged the guys. You have to be one of the top 5 speakers who've come here. And when you shared what you did for your parents, that made me very emotional. Because for me, you recognize your parents as your creator. And, you know, to do that for parents is amazing. It is massive. And, you know, hats off to you. My question is, in the last 16 years, have you had to distance yourself from close people to pursue the bigger things that you want to pursue? I ask this because sometimes we have to let go of people who are actually becoming blocks in our life. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. And yeah, regarding the parents, yeah, I think everyone should be looking after their parents because, you know, they are our creator, like you said, and they've brought us up. And, you know, if you can do good for your family, then do it. Regarding distancing, yeah, I mean, cards on the table, I've lost a lot of friendships starting businesses and owning businesses and growing businesses. One of the first guys I ever worked with, one of my best friends from the age of 11 or 12 that I grew up with, I went night clubbing with, I went through that whole process. But what happens, Jag, over time, and you probably see this yourself, is that life moves on and things change and people change. And I'm a completely different person to what I was 16 years ago. I'm a father now. I've got a more stable mentality. I've got a different mentality. And what happens in life, and this happens with, to be honest with you, a lot of people that don't travel, and a lot of people that are not well travelled or well versed in life, and the guys that go to the same pub every day and do the same thing and do the same shopping. What happens is that people that travel, people that live in different places, and people that see different people, their minds expand in terms of what's going on in the world and what they want to achieve, and listen to other people's mindsets. And the people that stay in the pub, they still talk about the same thing. So I had this where, when I first moved to Dubai, the guy that worked for me, he was still going to the pub and doing that, and I was trying to grow a business. And then we ended up falling out over how the business was growing and how he wanted more, and he didn't understand what we were going through. And it just gets to the stage where you go, okay, I've got to make a decision. What do I want to be? Do I want to be hanging around with this guy, or do I want to be this guy? Because you are who you hang around with. So it's a tough one. It's a tough to swallow, because people need to understand that when you own a business or you're trying to become successful, there is going to be some casualties along the way. But a lot of people are not selfish enough to take that risk and to do that. And like I said, I can list at least 5 people that I'm very distant with now, that I grew up with, but I'm not the same Lewis that I was years ago. Otherwise, I'd be in the pub with them. So it's a life choice, but yeah, you definitely have to, unfortunately, cut some people along the way if you want to be the person you dream to be.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your presence here today.
No, thank you for the questions. Please feel free to, and I want to ask the questions. I'm here to answer anything you guys want to answer.
Awesome stuff. Is there any element of the old Lewis that you were like, do you know what, I need to bring a bit more of that back? I know you said that you still got that kind of like bit between your teeth. Like if someone's doing good, you're like, I can't be having that. But is there any elements of like young, hungry Lewis who was maybe a bit more of a I don't know, a bit more of a hustler? You're like, oh, do you know what, I've got a bit lazy there. Or is there any elements of old Lewis 2.0 that Lewis 3.0 could do with sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, when you're running a business, I miss going on the floor. I'm an out and out salesperson. I'm an out and out people's person. I'm just good with people. I'm good at selling. I'm just good with people, and people gravitate to me in work. It's what happens. But so I really miss that 2.0 version of when I was the life and soul on the floor. But that's a sacrifice you have to make. You couldn't imagine Jeff Bezos when he was at Amazon sitting down with every guy going, oh, I'm Jeff, I'm here. Come and be my friend. It's Jeff has a decision to make on how Amazon is growing, and I just think that sacrifice he has made. But yeah, I do miss it. I mean, look, as you get older, you think about the times when I used to go to Ayia Napa and Malia and Ibiza with my friends, and and that was an amazing time. I loved them times. I used to come in at 5 a.m, hanging, cheeseburger at 10 a.m, my mates, and they're amazing days, and I will never forget them. But remember that I'm not that person now. I'm 35. I've got a family and a kid, and I just think if you take that concept to understand that just because you were doing that when you were younger, of course I miss it, but I don't want to be a 40-year-old guy in a nightclub anymore. And if you take that concept of work and everything else, you'll understand that change is good, and you just got to move with whatever's happening in your life.
Love it. Right, I've got loads of people reached out in the back channel asking to ask a question. Let's go to Nichelle, and then we're going to go to Freya. So Nichelle, coming to you first, amigo.
Good morning. Hi, Lewis. Thanks very much for your shares this morning. Very humbling. You've got a really good audio aura.
Thank you.
My question is, my 18-year-old has just started a sales job in the UK. He's done about £1,000 worth of commission in his first month, and track to earn. He started on 20 grand. That he'll easily smash 30 and all that sort of stuff. So he's really stuck into it. But what he doesn't want to do is start paying into a pension, which is what the company has suggested he does. And we've discussed this, and said he wants to save what he's earning, because I'm not charging him rent right now. So he's earning quite a nice little packet on a monthly basis for an 18-year-old, and save for a buy-to-let. Would you advise, if it was you living in this era, either buying somewhere like in Dubai, or buying a buy-to-let in the north, for example, and then just leveraging that? What would you do if you were in that position?
Well, thank you very much for the question. The first thing that popped into my head is about pensions. So I'm going to say something very controversial here. I don't believe in pensions in today's world. Really don't believe in them. And the reason for that, I think that one of the things you're going to be doing is immediately putting a lot of cash flow into this pension that he's not going to see for 20 or 30 years. And who knows what state the banks and the economy and with crypto and everything else that's going on, trusting the government in the nicest possible way with your son's money and hoping that turns into something. I mean, the reality is that your son's hit a nail on the head. For me, I'd be saving that money you're going to put into a pension and put it into a property. The only advice I would give to anybody is that when you're talking about owning a house, before you're buying a buy-to-let property, you should be buying a house to live in. Because the only way to describe it is you've got a bucket, and in that bucket, imagine you're filling it with sand, but in the bottom of it's a hole. That's what the purpose of owning a buy-to-let whilst you're renting is, because you're receiving the rent, but that rent that you're receiving is actually just going straight back to the rent that you're paying to another landlord. So it's a never-ending cycle of money leaving your bucket. So if your son's really serious about buying a property, whether that's Dubai, whether that's anywhere else, forget buy-to-let. The first thing he should be doing is buying property to live in, because every time he's paying into his mortgage, let's say his mortgage is £1,000 hypothetically, that £1,000 he's paying to himself, that when he goes to sell it, he'll receive that money back. So it's so important for me that he gets on the ladder as quickly as he can, and I would not be advising to put money into a pension.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Lewis.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. I think Nishoni slipped up then and said Ashley. You don't get that sort of wisdom from Ashley. Come on, Nichelle. What's up with you? We've had leads on really nicely, actually. Lewis touched on it about sort of crypto. The next question was from Freya, and it's a question around blockchain. So go on, Freya. What's your question?
Morning, boys. Lewis, I just want to say this room has been absolutely incredible. As soon as Ashley posted it, I was like, I'm coming with bells on. But my question is do you have plans to have an Allsop tokenized, like, thingamabobby? I know that's not
Very don't get too technical, Freya, please.
Please don't push it too far with that tech. So you want to know, we launch our own cryptocurrency? Is that effectively what you're saying?
Yes, that is, my lovely.
Okay, fine. Okay, so will we launch our own crypto? In short, crypto for me is a bit of a strange one. I'll give you my conception so you understand where I see it. Crypto is obviously a very valuable asset and is going to be a tangible asset that will compete with, I think it's already outperforming assets like gold and other currencies around the world. But what's important to understand outside of Ethereum and outside of Bitcoin, which are the two major ones, is a lot of cryptos are built up on PR. And that's the same with, have you heard of something called NFTs before? NFTs are like digital art. So a lot of these things are being launched, and a lot of it's done off PR pieces, and people that buy into it, they get their local sponsor on, that may be a celebrity, and they launch it, say it's the next big thing, it spikes and it goes down, unless there is a back end value to it, i.e. Ethereum is fueling NFTs at the moment, or Bitcoin is propping up different markets. So for me, I'll be honest with you, I'm an estate agent. There are things I will do in the digital and meta world. So I was actually trying to do a boardroom meeting in the metaverse. So I put on my Oculus VR the other day, and I was sitting in the metaverse at a boardroom table with my brother, and we were recording the boardroom meeting there. So I do have an interest in it, but will I be launching my own crypto? I can't say that I will, really, to be honest with you, because it would be a scam, to be honest with you, if I launched it.
Do you know what? There's so much of that that's coming out at the moment. A lot of the NFT space. That's where I think I was listening to Gary Vee video last night, and he was saying that all contracts in the next 15, 25 years are going to be digital. They're all going to be done on the blockchain. And I think he was actually talking the Game Changers Summit, which I think was for the real estate industry. And he was saying that, he's like, you guys have got to be watching this because it's going to change how your business
completions
operates.
in theory can happen a lot instantly, can't they? If all of the work's done in advance.
Sounds like they do, to be fair. He had a 50 grand bit of paper, went and turned it to 150 grand with his old boss. Were you not listening earlier? He was doing crypto while it's still paper. Paper cryptos.
He was sending faxes.
The NFT world's an interesting one because, I mean, there's so many scams out there. I'm pretty sure I was scammed myself literally a week ago. So I went onto the NFTs, and my brother, but there's something called, I think it's called Board Monkeys and Fluff Bunnies and these other things. I was actually in Clubhouse listening to an NFT expert. So I went on and said, right, how I personally learn, I said it at the start, I'm a practical learner. I went on to a place called OpenSea.io, so it's where you buy NFTs. So I've gone on there, and you hit me like Gary V. So I said, Gary V, I'm going to stick to this guy. So I went on there and I bought this NFT, $750. I don't even know what it was. It was an angel in a bubble, okay? And it's the weirdest thing. And I was like, what is this? I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to have a go here. $750. I bought this thing. Anyway, so Carl's, okay, so you bought your first NFT. So Carla bought this one called Bored Ape, or whatever it was. His went up £2,000 overnight. So I've gone check the value of mine. There's no value on it. So I look a bit deeper and you get, so it's a Gary V and Leon Payne joint venture. I don't think that exists. So I think some guy has just typed this in. I've seen it, and I've just bought this piece of shit, this bubble, fairy thing. And I'm not, so yeah, in short, just be mindful about what you're buying in the NFT world.
A Gary Vee and Liam Payne collaboration of angels. Something somewhere should have rung a few alarm bells with you there, Lewis. To be honest, it doesn't. Yes, it doesn't sound like you were getting good value for money, frankly. I know we've had you for a lot longer than we had intended. Are you good for a couple more questions, mate?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Right. Let's go to Julie. Julie Wong. She's got a question. Julie Wong, are you there? If you are, speak now. Forever hold your peace. Here she is.
Good morning. Yes, I am. Sorry, I'm trying to unmute. Morning, Lewis. Great listening to you. I'm really sorry I missed the first few minutes of your introduction. So my question is you're super successful, and obviously trying to motivate some people to move to another level about philanthropy and legacy. Do you have any sort of plans in place or any intentions around the area? Because I think it's quite interesting. You said your parents were really successful and gave you a great mindset and things like that. What's your legacy that you'd like to leave behind?
That's a very good question, and it's something I've gave a lot of thought to before. Because obviously, you go into the vision of when you've got children of my daughter Myla sitting in the CEO boardroom seat and making decisions on the business, etc., etc. But I mean, you've got to look at a couple of factors. I mean, when I look at a legacy, what is a legacy? I mean, is it a logo? Is it a brand? Is it how good my business is? I mean, I think I've already created it. If I left Dubai today, I'm pretty sure I would have created a legacy for Dubai. But if I look at it, what is Lewis Allsop? What do I want to leave behind? All I want to leave behind, to be honest with you, forget business structures, forget anything on the lines. When I leave this earth, I want my children and my children's children to be financially safe, secure. I want them to have roofs over their head and let them build their own dynasty. And that's one thing I'm a massive believer in. I don't want my children to take all my money. I want them to grow into their own lifestyle. So dynasty in terms of a legacy in work, I couldn't say exactly what I'm going to be because the world moves too quick. We all watch Netflix. Blockbusters was my 90s kid. Toys R Us closed down, opened back up. It's very difficult to say what a legacy is going to be in today's world because crypto is what we'll be buying in the next 10 years. I mean, I do not take my wallet anywhere. I'm sure everyone's the same these days. I Apple Pay everywhere I go. I get on the London tubes with my Apple Watch. I don't take anything anywhere. And that didn't exist 10 years ago. My dad still talks about Oyster cards. I just think the world moves at such a crazy pace and it's very difficult to say where my business legacy will be, but my family legacy is going to be about my children being happy and safe.
And what about so philanthropically? Is there sort of any sort of aspect of that interests you at all?
And what do you mean by philanthropy?
So charities, foundations,
okay,
things like that.
Yeah, so I said at the start before, I said I'm not a massive believer in me shouting about what I do, but I do a lot behind the scenes. So I always fund a lot of GoFundMe accounts. We had about 100 computers in Dubai, which we gifted to schools in need in Dubai last year. At the end of last year. My family have been involved in building hospitals and schools in Liberia. That's not me doing them, that's my family. But I've done things, one of our very good friends, child who got cerebral palsy, we've paid for like the rooms and the slings to be put up in the room to make sure they're comfortable. I mean, I will always make sure I'm doing enough around the world. And that's not going to stop you. The more money you make, the more good you can do. So in short, one of my goals over the next few years is definitely to keep helping where I can help, definitely.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much.
No, thank you very much.
Bit of a side question from that, Lewis. Obviously, success is all a construct of your imagination, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But do you consider yourself to be successful?
Do you know what? Even when I wasn't successful, I was literally. So my dad said something the other day. He was talking about. What was he talking about? He was talking about being in a room. We're in a room with some big investors, and he said what a lot of people have is something called imposter syndrome. And what imposter syndrome is where you enter into a room and you're sitting, let's say us four in a room now, and one of us is sitting there thinking, "Fuck it, I don't deserve to be here. I don't,
That's what Ashley's thinking."
But when you have that, I understand it. But from my point of view, I've never had it. So when I had £5,000 in the bank, I always thought I was the man, and it's a weird concept to have. So no matter how much money I've ever had, success or failure, even when I was, you heard me at the start saying when I was a sales negotiator just for a company, I would say I'm number one. I'm number one. I'm the best. When we started our real estate company and we were 3 people, I was telling people we're the number one company in Dubai. And I've always just been that way. It's probably a little bit of delusion, but what ends up happening, I think, if you believe that delusion and you speak it and you believe it, and I know it's quite cheesy to say, and you go, cool, I am the best. You will get yourself there if you back that word up. So it's I don't know. It's who I am. I've never had not belief in what I'm doing.
What did they used to call it with Steve Jobs? A reality distortion filter. He would he would mold the universe to give him what he wanted ultimately. Right, we have got loads more questions. How long are you good for, mate? Because I know you've got proper big interviews, haven't you?
No, mate. We could do this for as long as you like. I've got my ones later on, so I'm here. I've got an interview with Goldman Sachs in about 2 hours, so you've got me for a while.
No worries at all. All the big hitters. He's been on the Winners Club this morning. Goldman Sachs. Where will he go after that? Who knows? It's only downhill from the Winners Club, isn't it?
Yeah,
the rest of the day, frankly.
When he's talking on Goldman Sachs, you can tell Goldman Sachs where he's been this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to say, what was it? # shit at the BBC.
They love that at Goldman Sachs. They love that sort of banter. Go in on that. Yeah. Question, Toby, are you up? Go on, man.
I'm here. Guys, thanks for bringing Lewis on. And Lewis, everyone said it, but appreciate you being here. You just sound so normal and it's just really, really refreshing, so appreciate that. Question, being so client-centric, how did you find that transformation from working in the business to on the business?
Oh, very, very good question. Very, very good question. I think that took time, Toby. From my point of view, I'm just reading your profile now. You're in lettings and property management, aren't you? Is that right?
I am.
Okay, so one of the main things when you're looking at business, and it's the start, and a lot of people forget this very quickly. When we started our business, there was no customer centric, and I'm just being brutally honest with you. It was about money. There was absolutely no way, shape or form I was worried about a Google review or I was worried about what people, I just said, shit, we need money, we need sales, how do we do it? And a lot of people forget that mindset about, the fact that people have these mad business plans that go on for a year or 2 years. My business plan maximum goes 3 to 6 months because the world moves at such a fast pace. So if you have the mindset, first of all, when you are moving forward, okay, fine, I need to make money. So when you're normally starting a job, you're starting a job that you know what you're doing. So if you're in property, you would know how to get new listings, you'd know how to get units on. Your first job in that business is forget everything else. How do we get new clients that's going to bring us money in? Then when you get to a bit more comfortable stage later on, and that's where we got to after maybe year 5 or 6, I then look at the customer experience. So it would be down to, okay, so I looked at issues we faced in our business. So I'll give you an example of one of the issues you resonate with. We did a let for a client. So we'd rent a property to a client. And what would happen, my agent would collect the commission and then they would never pick the phone up to the tenant again. And the tenant would call the company, said that this is a disgrace. Your company's took my money. They've not come back to me. So we employed a client concierge that would literally speak to every tenant to make sure they got their move-in permits and et cetera, et cetera. And then we went to the next stage of putting triggers in place. So email alerts for when their tenancy expires and when that happens. So we'd go through the journey and work out how we can communicate with them and make sure they've got everything they want. But it just takes time. But my message to you is that working on the business is a latter stage when you're in a startup mode. I don't know if you're in a startup mode. When you're in a startup mode, it's all about money. And that's where a lot of startups in the world make a lot of mistakes. You see all these companies raising money. If you look at Purple Bricks to me, I'm going to say it's how it is, and I said it 2 years ago. If they're here in 5 years, I would eat my hat. And I said that 2 years ago, because they're an operational business that is losing money. There are too many tech companies in today's world that are raising money and losing money. And the whole circus in business does not make sense if you're operating. I don't care if you're a tech business or not. So from my point of view, when there are two types of business, you raise money and you grow it, but you're going to lose. But most normal people like me don't raise money, and we need money. So have that mindset of bringing money in, and then we'll work on the rest later in the customer experience.
Brilliant. So, Toby, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I was just very quick follow on, if possibly. When you left the sort of the shop floor, if you like, then how was it for you to? Did you just disconnect and right now it's business? Let's drive this vehicle, and let's that exponential curve is no longer. We're just going straight to the top and 10xing it.
Are you at that stage at the moment? Are you at that stage where you're looking at crossing off the floor to?
Yeah, so I'm 15 years in. This year I'm out of the business day to day, done with the clients. But that separation is still the difficult part.
Are you based in? Do you go in day to day, or is it just operating without you being there?
It can operate without me being there, but going back to what you said earlier on, I now find myself at home a lot more. It's easier for me to separate, get out of the office, leave the guys in there, and I can drive this machine better outside of those four walls. But it's still separating. I like to be there.
It's a trade-off, because I've got this issue in the UK at the moment, our UK offices, where if you're not there, Toby, it's no longer Toby's company. It's actually the guy below you's company that's building his DNA. So you've got to get a trade-off between, you've got to be visible, you've got to make sure you're in the business, but at the same time, the worst type of CEO or business owner you can be is the one that sits at the desk and looks over everyone's shoulder looking for what they're doing. So you've got to find a trade-off between being in the office and being visible to grow your business and make sure they know it's your business and your vision, to not being on their shoulder fully. So, the perfect scenario, I'm up there 3 and 2, 3 in, 2 out, 3 in the office, just helping me. Because what you'll find, I can guarantee you being the owner, you at one point are probably the number one lead generator, and you were probably the number one lister and the number one agent. So taking you off the floor is a very difficult pill to swallow. But if you want to take that sacrifice, that's how you're going to grow.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Elaine, you there?
Yes, Lewis, as you spoke, there are two scriptures in the Bible that come to mind about you. And the first is, honor thy mother and father so that thy days may be long. And the second one is, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And even though you said you don't really have a faith, that sums you up in a nutshell. My question to you is that when you arrived in Dubai, it was very much an emerging market. Are you looking at expanding to other emerging markets? I know you spoke about Liberia. Obviously, Africa is the next continent to emerge as a superpower. Are you looking at expanding your operations, because you already have the blueprint in Dubai?
Thank you very much for the kind words as well. And I do agree. I think that what you've just said about the quotes from the Bible pretty much epitomise what my mentality is, but that's more of my mindset rather than a religion side of things. But I do 100%. Like I said, I went to a Catholic school, so maybe that's where it's ingrained into me, to be honest with you. Regarding the international side, I get asked all the time, would I go to London? Would I go to Miami? I've actually been asked to go on Channel 4 and ITV and BBC. I actually screen tested for some of the businesses there. And what I ended up making a decision to say is that Dubai, on average, does around 50,000 sales every single year. 50,000. We're involved in about 4,500 to 5,000. So we've probably got a 7 to 10% market share. So for me personally, what I look at is there more growth for me to be involved in? Yes, there is. There's a massive amount of growth that we can be involved in. So it's just whether or not, and this is whatever floats on. But I don't love flying. I'm not scared of flying. I actually used to be scared of flying. I read a book called The Fear of Flying, and it talks you through turbulence and everything else. And I got to the stage where I was just like, do I really want to go on a 15-hour flight to New York to run a business where it's a startup where I don't know the city? One of the most important things for me when you're talking about knowing and growing a business, I think you've got to be expert in the location that you're in. So, for instance, I am very good in Dubai, but if I go to Miami, hypothetically, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to be the number one agent in Miami because I don't know the area. So I think, in short, I'm going to keep growing the Dubai property market and the UK property market because that is what we're very good at, and we've got our stronger hold in here.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you so much.
You mentioned there the UK property market. Are you sort of dabbling in that still? Would you bring Allsop and Allsop back to the UK, or as you mentioned before, the UK market in the estate agency space is kind of a bit of a race to the bottom with the likes of a Purple Bricks and a Yopa, and Purple Bricks are flipping useless, by the way. Hashtag never taking them on as a sponsor. But is it a bit of a race?
They would if they offered you, wouldn't you? If they offered you $1,000 a week, you're taking on that.
No, I wouldn't. I'm a man who. Yeah, okay, yeah, 1,000 a week I would. Yeah, fine. I'm a man of my morals, but I've got my price. Honestly, absolutely flipping useless.
We're in England, so we own 3 branches, all high street branches in Leamington, Nuneaton and Coventry, which are in the West Midlands. So we have about 38, 39 staff that work there. We have a lettings and a sales business. The business model we operate there is a bit different to the UAE. So the UAE is self-employed. I think in the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to operate the self-employed model in the UK because I think it's a very good model for anyone that's driven. I mean, the UK estate agency market is a little bit dated because a lot of people are collecting the basics and they're on their basic salary and they're just doing a job to do a job. Where I think if you really want to, capture the Dubai property market, the UK property market today, I've seen some new startup businesses doing it in the self-employed model. They're pushing, and what they're doing is they're actually hiring the entrepreneurs that want to start a business within a business. And I think that if you capture them rather than someone that's a 50-year-old guy sitting behind a desk that's got 20 years agency, and then it's like, oh, hello, yes, I'll come and value your house. The world has moved, and I think that that's where our UK model will go. I think we'll end up going and copying the Dubai model. And if you do that, you can scale it quickly because the cost of hiring someone in the UK on a self-employed model is very, very cheap.
So are you sort of looking to, you mentioned that you've kind of like nailed the Dubai sort of marketplace, and you're kind of like the what Foxtons have done in London, you across Dubai. Are you thinking of coming in to compete in the UK market? Would you operate the self-employed model in the 3 branches you've already got? Or are you looking to, if you can make that work, to like go at the UK market hard?
It's a tough one because I said before, it's for me. I work for money. That's it. I work. I'm on this call today because I like this call, not for money. But when I'm involved in a day to day, I look at how much profit I can make, how much is my metric of time versus money. That's it. And when I look at the UK, it's a very flawed model at the moment where it's a race to the bottom, like we said before. And I think that if I pulled this model in, I just don't think in the UK model, everyone wants something for nothing, and I just don't think you can make serious money being an estate agent unless you scale at a major level. Look at Foxtons, they turned over £104 million last year, which is amazing. But how many houses they have to sell? What is their average fee? How many people they have to employ? What's their net profit over their turnover? And I can guarantee you, because the amount of people they've had to hire and the staff and the salaries and the fee they're getting paid, the net profit's probably going to be less than Allsop and Allsop. And then that's the question you ask, why are we going to get into that battle? So it's something that's gone through my head many times, and I can't give an answer because it's just a little bit uncertain at the moment in terms of where the UK market's going to go.
Is there any other markets you're looking at? Like, say that the UK is kind of a dated, established market, but are there any other sort of new and innovative spaces that are sort of looking to do what Dubai has done for the Middle East in other areas that you're looking at?
No, at the moment, I'll just be honest with you. A lot of entrepreneurs sit here and say we're taking over the world. I've got something very good in Dubai that I'm just going to continue to build, and it goes back to the time and money factor. It's going to take me years to start up a new business in any major city. Where in Dubai, I really can just keep turning the screw on this market. So I've got my eyes firmly on this city at the moment. Interesting,
very interesting. Okay, cool. I was saying to Ash before we started, we've got a podcast agency client who's based out in Dubai, and he's going to do like a weekend retreat thing, like super fit dude, and he's like, oh yeah, come over. I'm thinking now we've got our mate Kirk over there, Spencer there, Lewis there. I'm thinking Winners Club road trip for the weekend to Dubai. What are you saying?
Paul can fly us.
Paul definitely
take us a long time for me to fly to Dubai.
Christ, how many stops would you have to make to get to Dubai?
Ridiculous. You couldn't do it. It was weeks.
Could we not
Why?
get... Because he could...
Why was it?
He's only got a tiny little plane.
And I fly a little small plane, a single engine that has to stop every few hours for fuel and
Could you not get a
goes
bigger
about
one?
100 mile an hour, not 700 mile an hour.
Can we not hire a bigger one?
We could, but I couldn't fly it.
Or Lewis could just send his private jet or something.
That's true, yeah. we got enough powerful powers now, haven't we?
We should do we keep talking about it every single morning, but as normal, used to do a lot of talk and no action. So let's just turn up on Friday and talk about the Winners' Club
Where's that app?
Road Tour again on Friday, shall we?
Yeah, why not? We'll just try to fill for time while you are distant from us. Right. Okay, let's have a couple more questions because we've got Lewis in the hot seat and he's got nothing better to do until he chats to Goldman Sachs in a few hours' time. So we might as well fill his time with something. He's good.
I've just got a fresh coffee from my wife, so I'm in a good
I saw that it got delivered behind the scenes. I tell you what,
Yeah, brilliant, isn't it?
Don't get any better than that, does it? If anyone's got life envy right now, I was thinking the only thing he needs is the love of a good woman and a fresh drink, and he's had both of them delivered to him as well.
You got coffee delivered to you about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, but there wasn't love.
There wasn't love there.
There wasn't love brought with
It
that.
was a love of a good man, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, the love of a bad man.
Lewis, it's done out of desperation. I was sitting here for so long, my lips were getting dry. Nobody else was deciding to go to the machine, so I thought I better go.
Right, if you've got a question, if you're on stage right now, feel free to flash your mics, and we will happily put a question across the list. We've got loads of people. Elliot, then we'll go Elliot, Ryan, and then Sharon. So Elliot, over to you, mate.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you here, Lewis. And I again, reiterating what a few people have said, the humbleness that comes across from you and with the huge successes you've had is, as Toby says, really refreshing, but good to see you here. I like to ask things from a slightly different angle, and we've heard so much about success from you as well. And we all have struggles. Everybody does in business. So I'm really like to talk genuinely, I don't know why, about the challenges I've had and what I've had to overcome. So my question to you is, my friend, what is the biggest, well, it's not necessarily the biggest, but one of the challenges that stands out over and above everything else that's been really painful, a lesson that's learnt that has really helped you as part of the success that you've got now?
Yeah, I mean, there's one standout story really about, the pain that I've been through and the challenges that you go through. And I talked before about that black Range Rover with the black wheels and the black windows that I had, and there's a story about that where we were about 8 months into the business and we were literally on the 25th of the month. The salaries needed paying on the 1st. I looked at our accounts because I was acting as the accountant and I realised we didn't have enough money by about £50,000 in my bank. And I was like, holy shit, this is not good. So a lot of these people were working for my business that were friends of mine, because that's how you start businesses, you bring them in, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh my God, this is a big problem. I remember looking outside this black Range Rover and I thought, I'm going to have to sell this. But if I sell this, everyone's going to know Lewis Allsop is broke. And then I start turning up in the Toyota Corolla. From that, it does not leave a good image on when you're a startup business. So I stayed for 5 days. I was getting in at 7 a.m. and I was working harder than I've ever worked. On the last day, I picked this client up on a viewing and they bought a house. I picked them up, got the check, drove them to the office, done the transfer, got paid the money, and the next day paid them that money. And I remember saying to myself, that there is what 99% of people would do, is they would give up at that point. And what I learned from that in business terms is that I just think that there's always a solution to every problem. If I have things that happen to me all the time. I have staff that leave me as a challenge. I have people unhappy. So I've got an issue at the moment where it's not a major issue. People are making life-changing money in our business. Life-changing. Some guys are taking home, like I said, hundreds of thousands of pounds, but they don't feel the love sometimes. And they're like, the business doesn't love me, blah, blah. I'm like, mate, you're making crazy money. How can you not feel the love? So I think every business goes through them challenges. But I think the key to it is, and this is, if something bad happens in our business, I just say, cool, okay, what is the solution? I have personal issues as well, as in how I run my business. It's very hard being a CEO. And I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of people don't understand. When you run a business, it's a lonely job. And keeping self-motivated and keeping self-aware, it's took me years to get that to the level that I want to be. So it's not easy running a business. There are definite challenges. But that Range Rover story there, where I nearly went broke and had to sell the car, was one that epitomised for me that, hang on a minute, that there is what you need to do to when the shit hits the fan. there's two types of people: one that turn left and find a solution, and one that turn right and goes, "Oh, I can't pay the salaries. It's time to go home." So yeah, it's I'm sure you know yourself. It's very tough running a business.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for that. It's always important to hear this from people that the lofty heights of success, because we hear about all the good things and the success that people have, but rarely
A lot of
about the
people.
challenges.
And I think this is important to anyone listening to this. This isn't me, but I speak to a lot of successful people. A lot of successful people are lost, and that's the honest truth. A lot of people that have got money are lost because they've lost their purpose in terms of what they're doing in life. They wake up in the morning, money's already coming in. So people that are not already successful, honestly, there's no such thing, anyone that's listening to this, as made it. Made it is a load of shit. And there's no such thing as making it. And I can tell that firsthand for speaking to some of the wealthiest people in Dubai that said, Lewis, I get up, but I don't know what I'm getting up for. Sometimes it's better to be chasing rather than having it. So anyone that's not where they want to be yet, don't think there is an end game for what you're doing. There's no such thing as an end game.
Thanks, Lewis. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And Ryan, did you have a question, my friend?
Yes, Ashley. Morning, everyone. And morning, Lewis, as well. I just want to start by saying, Lewis, congratulations on how far you've come from that, say, 19-year-old guy that took the leap of faith and just went out on that gut feeling, because it must have taken a lot of courage. And for me personally, I'm not 19, although I look 19. I'm actually 29 tomorrow.
Wow.
And last year I quit my job because of Clubhouse and because of this room here and these guys, everyone, guys and girls in this room, to sort of go after something that I want to create with my life. And Tony Robbins says it's in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. So yeah, from hearing your story today, Lewis, is super, super inspiring. So my question to you is, I know you mentioned that when you first moved out to Dubai, there was a few sort of mistakes along the way. You got dropped from a few jobs out there as well. But I believe like mistakes should actually be called must takes, because we must take them in order to say level up to our next level. So my question would be, Lewis, what would you tell maybe your 20-year-old self when you first moved out to Dubai, and some of the things that you maybe did make a mistake? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your sort of younger self when you first moved over to Dubai?
Very good question. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the question. I've just seen your profile. It's a very, very inspiring profile as well. So please do follow Ryan's profile. It looks incredible. So look, I mean, lessons that I've learned. Lesson number one, really, and this is the big one, is not to give a shit what any person thinks. I mean, I'm on this call now. I am just it's who I am. People like me, they don't like me. It's just who I am. But what I used to do when I first started the company is I used to try and perceive what it would be like to be a CEO and try and act like a CEO. And I'd be someone that I wasn't when I first started the business. And what I actually come to realize is that your friends and your mum and your dad like you for who you are. And that's how you've got to where you are at the age you're at. Whether that is you play PlayStation at the weekend, whether you like football, boxing, whether you like art, whatever it is, don't be afraid to talk about your hobbies. And I go back to the same thing now. The world is completely changed. You said when I was 15 years old, it was really embarrassing to talk about gaming. It's a perfect example. Gaming was not talked about. Now, every footballer takes their PlayStation on tour with them. Every friend that I know plays something. And it's become really common that people just say, yeah, do you know what? I play PlayStation. That wasn't talked about years ago. And I think that what I've learned is that there are a lot of people that are afraid to be themselves, and they're afraid to talk how they want to talk or be who they are. So don't be afraid to be who you are, and don't give a shit if anyone judges you. The second tip I'll give to any person is do not buy designer gear. The amount of money I wasted on buying Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana and everything else, and what I learned over the time is that two things: they shrunk at the first wash that you had them on, and secondly, you go to visit your parents. This is the only analogy I can give you. You sit in your parents in like what I call a slug gear, your comfy gear. You wear your joggers and everything else. And these people are people that you respect and care about the most. So why are people getting dressed up in this £400 t-shirt to impress someone they don't know who they are? And they're the best two tips I can start of giving any person. Don't give a shit what anyone thinks, and save your money on designer gear to buy property or investing in yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Lewis. And I just want to say, yeah, thanks. And you're speaking my language, and I'm sure you're speaking a lot of other people's language in this room. That's why we're all tuned in today. So thank you, Lewis, so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, Sharon and then Carol. Sharon, did you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly, thanks, Ashley. Yeah, really, really interesting listening to you talk today, Lewis, and thank you. My question was around property, actually. You mentioned earlier, I know Nichelle said about investing in property in Dubai. I have a friend who went through literally about 3 years of heartache trying to buy property in Spain from the UK. For anybody that's interested, how hard is it to buy in Dubai from the UK? And would you see that as a worthwhile investment? Sort of similar question to Michelle, but a bit different. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for the question, Sharon. Yeah, so buying in Dubai, it's become very, very, very easy. I mean, there's depending on what you're looking for. I mean, anyone that's buying a home to live in, I guess you need to come and visit the house to see the street and everything else. But actually, I had a guy that bought a property that I actually met on Clubhouse, and I introduced him to the developer, a guy called, I think some of you might know him, Dean Kelly, I think his name was, that hosts a few shows. I've been introduced to another friend. They ended up buying, again, not through me. I just introduced them to the developer. And all that you would do in Dubai is that you would go and see some videos of projects that you would like. And then you would arrange a Zoom call with one of our agents or with the developer. They would present the development to you. And you literally send the 10% deposit and you would digitally sign the contract that needs to be signed called the SPA, which is the sales purchase agreement. And then you would conclude the payment plan. And that payment plan would conclude to the end of transfer and you would get a title deed on the property. It's not like the UK here where you go through local searches and back end checks. It's quite a very very easy process. Anyone that's interested in investing or buying in Dubai, feel free to slide into my DMs. I mean, anyone who wants to know about Dubai, it's the fastest growing city in the world. Capital appreciation has gone up 28% in the last year. It's reaching the prices of 2014, which is its peak. And now it's pushing a lot of international investors, people from Monaco, specifically Spain and France and the UK, that came here on lockdown and then realised how amazing Dubai was, is now buying their properties here. And if you look at example, I have a property in central London in a place called Earl's Court. That property is in dirhams. I'm going to give you in dirhams. It's around 9,000 dirhams a square foot. And the property that I own at Atlantis Residences, which is this amazing resort, is handing over in the next few months, has Nobu on the beach from 5 kilometres of water and beachfront in front of you, connected to the other Atlantis Hotel, which has restaurants and Gordon Ramsay and the water park. It's an amazing facility. That's 4,000 dirhams a square foot. So you can see if you're coming from London and you're buying into like Earl's Court for 9 or 10,000 dirhams a square foot, and for half the value you could buy into like the Atlantis Residences, which is probably the number one development that's going to be in the UAE, overlooking the Palm Jumeirah. You can see why a lot of international investors move to Dubai. It is still such good value for money.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect. Carol, are you there?
Yes, I am. A really quick one. Lewis, it's been an absolutely amazing morning hearing your journey. I think the good thing about the Winners Club and the Breakfast Club is that we're a community, so most of the questions that have been asked are the ones that I would have asked. But can I just ask one from where I am and what I've heard you say? Will you please continue to share your journey? There's a lot of young people that are coming out of a difficult time, some that have spent lots of money going to universities and probably not knowing where they're going or where their next step is, and just hearing how humbly you speak and humbly you share will obviously make such a massive difference. So keep on sharing your journey. There's some young people that will just be lost at the moment, and hearing what you've done will be just absolutely amazing. So that's what I just wanted to share in. So thanks ever so much. Thanks, Ashley, James and Paul.
Thanks, Carol. Just anyone that's listening to that, I think I'll just say to everybody is that it's normal to be lost. I think that Instagram and the world does that to you, where you see people on holiday and living these amazing lives. And I think Instagram has accelerated people's depression and their lost feeling. And that doesn't come, I think that comes with two things. It either comes with age, or it comes with finding your path. And I just think that, there's a lot of young people at the moment that are going through this. And I have a theory on university. I don't believe university, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer, is worthwhile. I think there's 3 years of wasted time of drinking and nightclubbing and learning a little bit along the way. And that's one of the best things that happened to me, is actually not going to university. But yeah, I will continue to keep on sharing as much as I can. It is very difficult though when you try and operate and run your business and family and everything else. But I'm grateful that I've managed to come on Clubhouse with you guys.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Some great questions and some great answers. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, we're going to go to, if you are on stage, you'd like to ask Lewis a question. We've got 90 more minutes to end the show. We might as well have him for the whole thing now. He's there. He's got a coffee. He's ready to go. He's got Goldman Sachs in a little while. This is like the warm-up. This is like the rubbish warm-up to the big event, effectively. So if you'd like to... Stop using our tagline against us. Right, give us a flash of the mics if you'd like to ask a question directly to Lewis. We'll go to Mimi, then we'll go Addy, and then we'll go Joel if we get time. Mimi, over to you, my friend.
Oh, good morning. Yes, thank you so much. Amazing conversations this morning. I love this room. It's fantastic. Lewis, good morning. I just wanted to ask you, if somebody was thinking of transitioning over to Dubai, literally leaving the UK and coming over to Dubai to live, what do you think is the most important factors to consider, both personally and business, before making that transition?
Very good question. Thank you, Mimi. Appreciate it. Okay, so first of all, coming across to any new country, it is shit. It is shit. That's all I can say to any person coming over, because you have to understand that you're coming over with no friends, no routine, no gym, no setup, no football, no anything at all. You're coming over with this new canvas where you're trying to create a new life, and you have to introduce yourself to new people and go through a very uncomfortable phase. So to come over to the country, I think two things. You have to be accepting that you are going to be in a vulnerable position, that you're going to put yourself in places maybe you wouldn't normally go to, where in England, you've got your friends on WhatsApp and you can meet for a beer. This time you have to go out and meet new people. And, if you're a girl, go into netball, even if you don't like netball, or go into meet people on Facebook groups that are, expats in Dubai and things like that. The other side of it is be understanding that you probably need some money behind you. That's quite a big factor, especially if you go into real estate, you need money behind you. And understand that it's a different culture and a different mindset, and there'll be different people here. But, for anyone that's even thinking about moving country, whether it's Dubai or anywhere else, I say to everybody, you get one life. Like, I don't get that with a lot of people. A lot of people, like where I'm from in Coventry, people live and die in Coventry. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, go and see the world. Go and jump on a plane and go and serve at a bar in Greece for a year. You get more life experience from that than sitting and being an estate agent in Coventry for 25 years. That to me is not a life. And I think when our parents were younger, it was unheard of to jump on a flight to Australia or America. They'd be talked about in the scene, oh my God, so-and-so's daughter's gone to America. Today's world, it is so common. So I would advise anybody thinking about doing anything, go and travel, man. Go and see the world, go and create experiences, no matter where it is. But be prepared to be uncomfortable.
Thank you, Liz. And one last question, just quickly, I know the time. If you had a large lump sum of money to invest, is investing in Dubai this, because I know somebody mentioned Spain, and I know a lot of people that had their fingers burnt trying to sell the properties or get their money back. If you invested in property in Dubai, is it quite the same process as in the UK? It's easy to sell and to get your money back if you chose to.
Yeah, I'd say 70% of the properties we sell, we don't even hit the internet at the moment. So there's like a real strong buyer's demand. The key is still buying it in a good location and speaking to a right agent that's going to give you, if you don't know Dubai, you can end up buying in the middle of nowhere and thinking you've got something good. So, that there are amazing developments out there that have got high demand. It's just important that, you know where they are. So if anybody's thinking about buying, like I said, DM me, I will introduce you. But if you want to make serious money at the moment and anyone has money, I'm doing it myself. I'm investing in Dubai and I have been for the last 7 or 8 years quite heavily, and there is some good money there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lewis. I will be in touch.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Are you thinking about a little move, Mimi? That was not a question you asked for anybody else, was it? That was with intent. You asked with intent.
Yeah, that was for me. Yeah, that definitely. Yeah, I used to go to Dubai 3 or 4 times a year before this pandemic, and yeah, I've just sold properties in the UK, and I'm looking at what to do with the money now. So yeah, I will speak to you. Thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you, winners. Thank you.
I love it.
What I heard then is, I am loaded. Where can I spend my money?
Lewis, what's a nice 5-bed villa, nice on a nice-ish in the nicest community with a pool? What's that going to cost me?
So you'll be surprised if you're in like a central location. So in the UK compared to what you get. So I used to live before where I live now, which is a bit different. But where I lived before was a 5-bed on the golf course called the Ernie House Golf Course. So it's a PGA golf course, amazing clubhouse with like quiz nights, curry nights. They've got restaurants and bars attached to it. They've got swim-up bars and pools, and you can get a 5-bed there for around, off the golf course, £850,000. On the golf course, about 1.1 million. It's 5,000 square foot, so they're big villas as well. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not shockingly terrible if you compare it to what else is out there in central London, or even in popular cities.
Yeah.
You down for one then, Paul?
I'm looking for a holiday home.
There you go then. Fantastic. There you go, Lewis. It was worth coming. I know you were like questioning like Goldman Sachs, Winners Club, like what's the point?
Yeah.
But Mimi's coming across as a client. Paul's going to buy your old golf villa. Shipman, what are you having? Actually, he's coming for a job.
Down. Yeah.
So we're 10% down. So there you go. We'll all have one.
How do mortgages work out there? Oh,
here he goes. He's off.
I'm getting some personal consultation here.
Yeah.
So you need because you're an expat, you need 40% down.
Yeah.
If you're living in Dubai, it's 20% down. So it's a little bit heavy for people outside the country, obviously, because they don't have much liability or collateral on expats. They'll always increase the LTV. So you'd need, if you're living in the country, you need £200,000 to buy £1 million house, and your repayments are probably about £2,500 a month. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're talking toppy. If you really wanted somewhere holiday home now, you can live on like the beach in somewhere called the beachfront for around £300,000, hypothetically £350,000. You put 40% down of that, and you have an amazing apartment on the beach. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're buying it and they're short-term renting it. So they'd furnish it, put it on the short-term lettings, and then when they're coming on holiday, they're using it and they're gaining capital appreciation on the house. And they get a rental income. You can tell I'm an estate agent, can't you?
He can't help himself.
And that's a UAE. That's a UAE mortgage. And do they look at your UK income as reference for that, or they're not bother looking at that? Is it just sort of self-declaration?
No, they take your bank statement, so they take a copy of your passport, bank statement, etc., and they get your pre-approval to go through what you can and can't get. Then look at your outgoing debts versus ingoing. So we literally do all of this in the back end as well. So it literally a case of someone giving us their passport and their statements and their income, and we would go to a bank and say, how much can these guys get? And then we'd place you and we'd develop us where you want to go. But it's just, honestly, it is not a pitch to anyone buying a house. It is an amazing opportunity in Dubai for the next few years, where prices are only going to go up. When I moved to Dubai, the population was 1.8 million. It's now 3.6 million. They haven't built that many houses. So there's a massive undersupply of houses versus people. We all know someone. In this room, I guarantee you all know someone that's moving to Dubai or thinking about moving to Dubai or going on holiday in Dubai. It's just, I always say it's like the Marbella of the 90s on steroids. That's how I look at it. It's just it's that boom city, and it's not going anywhere.
He's in. I could see. You can see buyer's intent in somebody's eyes. Abercrombie is all in. Expect a load of things. Yeah, sent you his passport.
Yeah.
He was ready. Awesome stuff. Right, we said we were going to go to. Let me go back to up here. Where were we going to? I've lost track of myself here. We were going to AD, weren't we? Sorry, AD and then Joel, if we've got the time. AD, go on. Do you fancy? By the way, you can only now come up and ask a question if you want to buy a house in Dubai. That's the rules. Lewis has messaged us in the back channel, said only serious buyers only asking questions now. So AD.
Andy does 50-50. And it's 50% commission.
Oh, of course it is, yeah. Self-employed, yeah, we're up for that. This is a good deal.
This is how we're going to make money on this group, This is how we do it.
Go on, AD, what's your question and where do you want to buy?
Weekly property auctions.
Okay. Well, I've visited Dubai 4 times now, so maybe in my legacy, I will think about buying a property. But right now, I've got other things that I need to think about. Anyway, I am all about legacy, and it's probably because of the stage of life I'm at. And Lewis, the question I have to ask for you, because you're 35, what's next for you? And what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh God, what do I want to be remembered for? What's next for me? I wrote down my goals at the start of the year, and this is going to sound very strange for anyone who's really driven. My goal this year is to do better than I did last year by 10%. And if I can do that for the next 10 years, my life will be double better than it is at the moment, which is amazing. So I can't really ask for much more in the business side of things. In terms of legacy, I think I mentioned this earlier. I just want to leave my children in a very happy and healthy place with a roof over their heads. So legacy is a difficult one to give in business because it moves so quickly, but in personal, yeah, I'd like to leave them in a good place.
And what would you like to be remembered for?
Just being a good guy. I don't need to remember for business. Business is about making money. That's it. Anyone that's in a job at the moment, any industry that you're in, you're only in it to make money. If you're all going to work today, you're all going to make money. Any way that you spin it to yourself, it's about money. You can talk about job satisfaction, happiness, unless you're in a charitable job, that's very different. But for me, if you take that out of the equation, I don't think it's rocket science from my point of view.
It's a family.
Awesome
Family's
stuff.
all about family.
Thank you very much, Adi. Great question, great answer as well. We're chatting in the background here about who's having which one. Paul's going to go for a big golf villa.
I've got no choice.
He's got 17 kids. He's got a house.
I'm just going to go like
Ashley's going like bachelor pad style, which Charlotte ain't going to like. But then she can come out once in a while. Do you know what I mean?
I might just take the annex probably off the side of Lewis's house. It will.
you go live in Lewis's gaff. I'll bunk him with the Abercrombies. He won't notice another one person. Will he?
Take his cinema. Like I think it's not used that much.
No, we're looking for a holiday home. The biggest challenge for me is the choice is: do you go and get them a bedroom each, or do you get? Have you seen like on Instagram these really nice rooms with bunk beds, really like built-in bunk beds and stuff, so you can fit all the kids in one room? Obviously, that would be a cheaper option to do that, wouldn't it? But then when they get older and grow up, they don't all want to be in a.
You're not probably going to go on holiday together when they grow up, so then they'll probably be going with their friends using that holiday home, trashing the place.
No. Can you imagine that?
I hope not.
I know not.
I don't think my wife's ever letting the kids leave home.
No, fair enough. I don't want mine to go either. Mine turned 5 yesterday. I freaked out. Right, let's go for one more then. We're going to go to Joel, and then we were going to have to wrap up the room. Joel, the pressure and the privilege of the final question falls on your shoulders. God help you if it's not a good question, my man, but I know it will be because you're like the postman. You will deliver. Go on. Let's whip it.
No pressure. Morning, Louis. Fantastic story. I'm sure you've everybody said that to you this morning. The question I've got for you, and it was very early on in your sort of interview this morning. You've had to make some tough decisions. You haven't got to where you have to got to today without making tough decisions. What is probably the toughest decision you've probably had to make, or tough love that you've had to give?
Okay. So one of possibly the toughest decision I've had to make is one of my directors in the last 3 years not performing. And this is someone that I've literally from the age of, we're talking 13, 14 again, that I grew up with. I've been on holiday to Amsterdam and I've been with these guys. I've been all over the world with these guys and the people I class as friends. And about 3 years ago, I was running person as a friend, but I asked them to do reporting for me and the reporting didn't come through. I let it slide for a few months. Reporting still didn't come through. I asked them to do things, it didn't happen. And I got to an ultimatum where I was like, look, this is what I need. You're not doing it. I can't operate my business without you doing what I ask you to do. Anyway, it come down to it. And this is someone that, like I said, I've a very good relationship, and letting that person go, and I think they were shocked with it, but it was for the best of the business. So in business and in life, so sometimes you have to let people go to let other people grow, or to let your business grow. And I think we got to that stage with that person where they couldn't take it any further. They wasn't working the way that I wanted them to work. And friendship leaves the equation at that point. It's about what's good to protect the business. And like I said, there are tough decisions you're going to make. There's tough decisions I've made from hiring people. You know, when we started the business, hiring an accountant was probably the biggest decision we'd ever made, me and my brother, because we didn't want to spend £1,000 on an accountant. And that was what we did. And it was the fear of that person was one of the biggest, you know, risks that we took. And there's loads of big decisions we've looked on the way, but that's probably the biggest one I've made, is when I've had to fire friends. And it's not the only one that I've had to fire. But in this business, it is show business, it isn't show friends. And that's how you've got to run your business.
Thank you. On the back of that, have you seen another 19-year-old Lewis that you thought you want to take up?
Yeah, do you know what? I have. But unfortunately, I think that a 19-year-old Lewis doesn't last in Allsop and Allsop in any of our businesses, because when you turn in drunk or hungover in our business, we will terminate your employment. And we've got to look at the structure of the business. And, you know, if I'd let these guys stay in our business and grow with us over a 5-year period, we might have a superstar on our hands. But if we do find a 19-year-old Lewis, the reality is he's going to set his own business up anyway. The 19-year-old Lewis is a risk taker, a wingman, someone that wings it, someone that's aggressive, someone that wants to win at all costs. And then people are entrepreneurs, and, you know, they won't stay in our business very long. So I've definitely crossed paths with what normally gets in the way of these entrepreneurs and successful people, unfortunately, is drink and lifestyle. And a lot of people get dragged into that life. And that's where a lot of people, you look at footballers, you look at some of the best footballers, you look at the Mason Greenwood case at the moment. Some of these people who are young and have it all, the reason they fail is not to do with talent, it's to do with their mindset. So I think a lot of people do fall down because of that.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Joel. It was a very solid final question. Good work to you, my man. If anyone is interested, by the way, if you've been listening to this conversation going, God, this guy's fantastic. It sounds like he's got a great business. It sounds like he's involved in some fantastic properties. Go and check out the link that we've just pinned at the top of the room right now. This is going to be Paul's holiday home. Yeah. So he's just... That's a verbal agreement from me to you there, Lewis. Yeah, fantastic. And I just looked. So again, a very humble guy. But on your bio on Clubhouse, you've done $20 billion worth of sales in real estate.
It's probably more than that now. It's about 1.5 years old, isn't it now? So it's going to be a lot more than that now.
Christ,
we'll have to change it.
Fantastic. Well, honestly, I just want to say a massive thank you. Guys, if you are interested in Dubai, if you're interested in the property space in Dubai, go and give Lewis a follow. He's the second row down in the middle. He's been very, very graciously gifted us with like 2.25 hours. I think we asked him to come on for an hour and he's stuck around for 2 and a bit hours. So thank you very much. Go and give him a follow. Right now, click onto his profile here on Clubhouse. Go and follow him across social media as well. And go and check out Allsop and allsop.com. Or go and check out the link. By the way, that link at the top of the room right now, you can't purchase that property because that's already Paul's. And if you look at the photos of the golf course, there's 3 gigantic, like those sun lounger beds. So there's that giant one, that's for Paul and his tribe. The small one on the left-hand side will be for me. And there's a tiny one just in the corner that looks big enough for a hobbit. That is where Ashley Shipman will be parked up tanning himself during the winter months. So, thank you, Lewis. Honestly, what a great morning. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, if you're on stage right now, give him a flash of the mic as a Clubhouse round of applause. Lewis Allsop, what a fantastic guy. Great guy running a great business. Thank you very much, my man. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you soon at the ribbon cutting of Paul's first property out there.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Well, he's taking
Did you have an
pictures
office in Dubai?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, for a period of time. Yeah.
So you know Dubai quite well then?
Spent a fair bit of time there, yeah.
So is this the location you're looking for then? Does this work for you? On the Ernie Els course?
Or is it the other one you're looking for?
Down the bottom of the par 5?
Is it this one or the other one that he's
He's the easiest sell ever, isn't he?
Do not drag me into this
sell
conversation.
ever. Right, fantastic stuff. Hope you guys have enjoyed this morning. Thank you. Cheers for your ears. As always, we've had, best part of 1,000 people through the room again this morning. What a great conversation. Someone who's actually out there doing this stuff in real time. I don't know what's happening here. Somewhere is going wrong. But yeah, fantastic. Thank you for being here, Lewis. Much appreciated. We'll be back as per usual. And if you've joined in halfway through the conversation and you're like, I can't believe I missed the beginning part of that, you will be able to listen very, very soon. The Winners Club app version 2 is in for checks with flipping Apple and Google, and we're going back and forth.
I'm waiting for somebody in Delaware who seems to only come online at 11:30 at night to talk to me, which is So by the time we email and resolve the problems, we lose a day every single email. So we're getting there slowly.
We're getting there, gang. We're getting there.
Or I stay up late, which seems impossible at the moment.
So click on the little green Monopoly house at the top of the room if you haven't yet joined the Winners Club, and you can find out more information there. Thanks again to Lewis. Fantastic day. More tactical, practical, tangible advice coming to you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. But from me, from Ashley, and from Paul Apple Crumble, a.k.a. the Sultan of Dubai. We will see you tomorrow morning. DJ Paul, hit that button.